What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
What kind of ignorant shit is that?
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
You idiot, you fool!
Hey, dummy!
This is the Ignorance is Blessed podcast.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Yay! Oh,
Sorry, Moki.
Oh, it's another
A
boom
boom boom.
firework.
Yeah.
And speaking of boom booms in the sky, I have
Don't do this.
daughter of war torn immigrants.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, this isn't how we're starting.
That's actually very
Listen,
funny.
hey idiots, we're here. I call my listeners idiots. Let's deal with it.
Me too, and I have no reason.
Well, I've met some of your listeners.
Well, that is true. You know who you are. Chris Mejia. No, I'm kidding.
Get it. You guys, I'm here with Arijana Ramic. Did I say it right?
Oh my
Arijana
God. Yeah, you
Ramic.
did.
I've been
Yeah.
living with you for months. You're
I didn't expect that
we're
from
roommates.
you.
You didn't?
Yeah,
How
I
did
mean,
you think I say?
oh, I thought you were going to say Ramic because I always just tell people Ramic, and I've had like an existential crisis about how to say my last name.
You've just given up on trying to say it correctly to
Well,
people.
I just don't care how people say it. Like, I know we're supposed to die on this hill of like you're supposed to care how
My
people say it. I'm like,
name.
I don't need Americans to butcher my name. I'm not in the business of that. Do you know what
no,
I mean?
so just like say it. Let
do
me
your
just
best.
Tell you wrong.
yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel
Yeah.
better, my phone calls you Arijana,
I do.
and I cannot
yeah.
get Siri to call you unless I say, "Hey Siri," just in case she's listening. Call Arijana.
That's so fun. You know, Word autocorrects my name to marijuana.
Really?
Yeah. It's great.
Fitting, honestly. The
Yeah.
amount of edibles you do.
I
Is that a secret? Or did I just
no,
out
it's
you?
out now. It's out now.
Are your parents going to be disappointed?
Yeah, my mom fully thinks I'm a drug addict. It's great.
Because you
yeah.
do edibles occasionally?
Yeah, you know.
Wow.
That's what
Mama
you get.
Ramic. Wow, that's
She's
a
pretty
great band
cool. She's
name.
pretty cool. She just can't get behind the drugs.
She should meet my
Yeah.
siblings, and then she'd understand what a drug addict actually looks like. We've got it all over here, and
Yeah.
not nearly the as much excuse as I think someone from your
Yeah.
background. Well, okay, let's just dive in.
Yeah, let's do it.
You're a first generation immigrant? Is that what it's called?
Okay, so this is actually like a contested term, which I didn't know. So, I think that technically, yes, most people would consider me first gen, but some people consider the people who immigrated first gen, and then the people who are their kids second gen.
Oh,
So
I wondered that.
I'm not sure. Like I think both terms are valid.
But you are the daughter of people.
Oh.
God damn it.
Should I close the curtain?
Maybe. Listen, guys. Moki, no. Quiet. I'm gonna have to edit this out. Hey.
Good quiet.
Don't make me get the hose. Are you not gonna get a hot dog?
Oh, that was
Moki.
sweet.
I need to just
That's funny.
give up and be a person who has hot dogs in their pockets at all times.
I actually see that
I
for
got
you.
a hot dog. Yeah, the problem is I would eat the hot dog.
Yeah, exactly.
like,
You'd like have like one bad moment, and you'd be like, "It's happening."
Yeah. My God, you
No.
blew the roof off of the mic, Moki. Okay,
Yeah.
so but for clarity's sake.
Yes.
No.
Oh, I'm a bad girl.
We're hiding.
Bad girl era. Bad girls club.
Sorry, you are
Yes.
the.
I'm the daughter of. I always
Of
just say I'm the
immigrants.
daughter of immigrants. Yeah.
I am the daughter of immigrants.
You know, weave that into your flag.
Yes, my flag. My big. I have a flag that I weave things into, and I
Uh-huh.
will weave that into.
Quilting is huge. It's back, baby.
Really?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't.
I wouldn't be surprised if you tried to get into quilting.
I've thought about it.
Of course you have. Have you tried knitting?
Yeah.
Crochet?
Yeah. I used to love crocheting.
Me too.
Yeah. My mom used to crochet like nobody's business.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a common hobby in Bosnia.
Yeah, everyone crochets like nobody's business because you
Yeah.
can't build a business off of crocheting. It's a
The
common
Etsy
hobby
stores are just
in
thriving.
Bosnia. That's like a big thing.
Yeah, like a lot of the women will like crochet. We call it heklanya, and so it's a joke. There's like doilies whenever you go to someone's house,
They
like a
have
middle-aged.
hand-crocheted.
Everywhere, the TV is covered with doilies. The tablecloth is a doily. Like I have some. My grandma has knit me like table.
Doilies.
Yeah,
Table
and they're a
runners.
cherished thing.
Like
to
you
me.
pass them down. Oh,
Or
they're-
it's like
you
very
cherish them.
special. Yeah, you can pass them down. A lot of people do. But
Oh,
it's
people
like
don't
you
treat
can
their-
also just make it for someone. So
Oh, well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a what I think my problem was with. I enjoyed crocheting,
Mhm.
but I was like, what?
what do
what am
you
I gonna
can
do
only
with
have
it?
so much crochet. Do you know?
Yeah,
what
I can't just have a
mean?
bunch of hand crocheted scarves. Then
And
you're,
yeah, imagine being that person that just only wears crochet knits.
I know. I guess I get
horrible.
why if somebody knows someone who's into it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, every year she gives me a knitted sweater because she's like, what?
Yeah.
Or he. Maybe
Yeah.
some men might.
Socks
also,
are huge.
Really?
Knitted and crocheted socks. Yeah, I still have some from my my great grandma, my mom's grandma, that she made for us. Yeah.
she made for you. Were you alive when your great grandma was alive?
Yeah, she passed away when I was like in 4th grade.
How old's your mom?
She is close to 60.
Damn.
Yeah, she lived a long time.
I was
She
just
lived
gonna say,
a
so you
very
guys
long
just
time.
is
Yeah.
that a Bosnian thing?
I don't it's
Bosnia, by the way, if you're
Yeah.
waiting to figure out where
Yeah.
her parents are from.
yeah. It's actually unfortunate because I feel like a lot of people die in their like 50s.
Bosnian people get, because people say that about like Italians. Italians live.
I mean, I feel like there's a really huge population gap in Bosnia right now, especially after the war. So there's like a lot of old people who have zero family, but then a lot of people,
That's so sad.
it's very
Are
sad.
people going back?
No, and for everyone's leaving. There's more, I don't know if this is still true, but I think there's more Bosnians outside of Bosnia than in Bosnia.
Really?
Yeah, because there's no jobs, there's no work. Everyone, like, this was to my point of like most people are dying in their 50s of like heart attacks and like, stuff
Oh my
because of like
God.
PTSD and like,
Because they're all traumatized.
yeah, I mean, that's my biggest fear is my parents dying young. So I'm glad that we're close to the 60 hump, but I can like countless friends who have lost their dads in their 50s.
In their
It's
50s.
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just fucking heart gives out.
Dude, yeah, it's literally like, some people just like alcoholism or eating poorly or whatever, right? But you can't deny that that's like the trauma is definitely
Trauma
huge.
definitely impacts
Yeah. Yeah.
your whole
Mhm.
body. And of course it's going to slowly, especially if you're, I mean, you never fully recover from severe trauma. It's
Oh,
like you
yeah.
learn how to live with it and lessen
Yeah. I think that's a big thing that I never fully grasped is that it's like, I mean, I do understand that you don't just get over it, but I don't think that I will ever understand that there's not a single day that goes by that you probably don't think about it.
that it
You know
doesn't
what I
creep
mean?
in somewhere.
Yeah.
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 I wonder if that's true for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense, but it's like, yeah, I remember when I had the realization of like, there's not a way to like make it go away. You just like
you're
learn
never
to
done.
handle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just always gonna,
Yeah.
you just like learn to live. Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
nice. Good. Great.
It's like the same thing with like therapy, I guess. Like you're never really
You could always be
growing.
getting better at growing. So
Yeah.
it's like you could leave therapy, but you could also always be in therapy and it wouldn't
Right.
be
Yeah.
unnecessary or weird.
Yeah.
I know that. I
I
graduated
know.
and went back.
Yeah.
I graduated. Which honestly, I think therapists should, like, if you've given them certain goals and they feel like,
Yeah.
you know, with the feedback you're giving them, it's like, seems like you kind of accomplished what you want.
Yeah.
Maybe you
Well,
can go out on your, I think it's almost like try to fly from the nest.
yeah. Well, I think also you don't have to talk about this, but I feel like the reason you went back was for a different reason than why you started going.
Absolutely. Well, and it's like, I think if I hadn't gone initially,
Yeah.
because we're not going to make this about me. I'm not going to fucking be that person. But like, long story short, I went back to therapy once I was like, I was deeper in a relationship and I had not ever been as intimate emotionally, and it brought up a lot of stuff. And so I was like, oh shit, I have never actually gone this far emotionally with someone.
Isn't it cool to like learn something new about yourself though, even if it challenges you?
Sometimes. Yeah, it is, but like it is once you feel like you're getting through it.
Yeah,
But I remember being like, oh
fuck. Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So I guess enlightenment's
Yeah.
not around the corner. Not
Yeah.
that that's a thing I was in danger of, but
I mean, I really wonder. I mean, long story short, my parents, were in concentration camps, came to
Okay,
America, went through a war,
you don't
right?
have to be long story short. That's what this whole thing is.
But I mean, like, I really do wonder, like, what would have happened if there were resources for them to, like, get more traditional therapy help. Just because, like, I see, like, I don't think that my parents had, like, a traditional response to trauma like a lot of people think it is with, like, PTSD and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think they definitely have that, but I've only seen it deepen years later versus it being, like, really bad in the beginning and then gotten better. I've seen the reverse of that.
Oh, I understand that
Mhm.
completely, and I
Yeah.
think there's a part of it that's like it gets like buried,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yeah, you're surviving. You're
and
pushing
you
it
like
down.
cope with it by pushing it down. And I
Yeah.
think what happens for a lot of people is there comes a point where either maybe it's that you reach a point in your life where things are actually good enough that you can calm down, and as you calm down, more things come up,
Mm-hmm.
or your body simply can't take it anymore. I'm not sure
Yeah.
which one it is, where it's just like, no, it's coming out now.
It's like when you like go through finals week and then you get that first day of rest and you get sick the day after finals week. That's what I think it's like, you
Yeah.
know, like the moment that you have a little bit of breathing room, your body's like, remember this trauma, you know? what
Yeah,
I mean?
because I didn't have like
Yeah.
there might have been subtle things that I didn't realize were like tied to abandonment issues or tied to being neglected or something in relationships, but like it didn't really flare its head till like my late 30s, my stuff. So I was, or not my late 30s. I'm not even in my late 30s. My late 20s.
My early 40s.
My 50s. But that was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of like, oh, now this is happening. And then I think I kind of tried to go like, well, I've kind of been fine the whole time, so I can still be fine. And then it's like, why am I falling apart now?
That's the thing is like when you're high functioning and whether that's a good or bad thing for people, right? It's like you're able to just be like, well, I don't have to address this because I'm just like, I'm going.
Yeah,
you
and you
know?
like, I think until
Yeah.
you hit the point where like your stuff is unbearable or comes up in a way that you can't ignore anymore, it's easy to look at other people, or if you just, God bless you if you don't
Yeah.
have fucking trauma.
Yeah.
It's easy because I remember seeing some, I don't know if it was on MTV or like Dr. Phil, which those are two very different things, but there were girls who were like 16, and I was watching this as a 16-year-old on some show, like talking about their dads, and they were like, why? And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with all of you?
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
And then, you
Mm-hmm.
are tough and cool for so long, and then one day you just like snap.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I could go on for hours because I think that that's also where my autoimmune stuff comes from, emotional suppression.
I do too.
But it's not about me. This is about, I want to talk to you about growing up,
Yeah.
living in a house of parents who, I mean, okay, so you just really went, long story short, my parents were in concentration camps.
Yeah,
So
just for context, but yeah.
But okay, so for context, maybe other people learned about this in the period of like when I was transitioning from moving from Mississippi to Alaska, and it was like different curriculums, and we just missed this.
Yeah, where were you in 1992?
92, I was in Mississippi.
Mississippi, okay.
Yeah, I was young elementary school. I think I would have been
Okay.
starting elementary
Yeah.
school then. I remember hearing, on the news and stuff, just Bosnia, but like that's literally just that's pretty much all I knew.
Yeah.
Bosnia, and then there was that like one guy's name who I heard a lot.
Milosevic, probably.
Yeah, Slobodan.
Yeah.
No, I think I like to say that a lot. I had no idea what it meant or who
It's
he
a
was.
fun name
It's
to
just
say, honestly. Yeah.
it is a fun name, and I don't know if that's offensive. And I'm sorry. So, can you tell me a little bit? Because I cannot be the only American who's like, yeah. So what?
Yeah.
Concentration camps. They're
Yeah.
like, what the?
I think it's
What the
something
fuck
that-
happened in Bosnia?
I think it's something that you associate with like Germany. You know what I mean? Like before time.
Well,
right?
you know what I also realized as I was like thinking about this today, and what I wanted to ask you about and talk to you about is that like, I don't know the U.S.'s involvement in this.
Yeah.
And how much or how little there was. But then I was like, oh, maybe we learned so much about World War II because they're like, this one we like really won. We like crushed that one. So remember that one?
So that is the sad thing about like where history used to be my favorite class until I had a history teacher be like, oh, why do you guys love history? Because it always repeats itself. No matter how many like studies they're done, politicians that know what's going to happen, all this stuff. And specifically Bosnia, it was like dubbed the worst like genocide on European soil since the Holocaust, and people were not stepping in and helping. And like so July 11th is a big anniversary for a lot of Bosnians because that's when Srebrenica happened, which is basically this town in eastern Srebrenica. So it's this town in eastern Bosnia, and basically the UN really fucked up there. And you can read about it all online. I won't go into specifics, but they basically let the Serbians kind of run this camp, and the Serbians were like, no, it's not a concentration camp, it's just a work camp,
Oh, also, I'm sorry, what is a work camp?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's not that's a concentration, it's a work camp.
Yeah. And so basically
call it a warehouse, stupid.
Over 8,000 men were killed in one day because the UN one day was like, all right, we'll leave, we'll retreat. And that was the first day they left. All those men and families were killed
in the camps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you know how they were killed?
Mass graves, basically shot to death.
Sorry to be morbid. I just feel like that's a question that
it's a valid,
morbid.
Because how do you kill that many people in one day?
I'm gonna ask a really dumb question, which is the whole premise of this.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask this.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely asking this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so embarrassed I'm asking this.
No, so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is Serbia a country?
Yes. Great question. So this is actually a very good question. So basically, the war started because former Yugoslavia was basically kind of, it's now 7 different countries.
Okay.
But it all used to be under Tito Broz was his name. He was like supposed to be a benevolent dictator, but that's questionable if he was how benevolent.
A benevolent dictator?
Yeah. Well, so like my parents like loved Tito because there was so much peace at the time. Everyone had jobs, everyone had food. It was like a communist country. Like,
but everyone had what they needed.
Everyone had what they needed.
It was
they
like
said
when you pitch communism in an idealist way for a while, it was like that.
And it was like people would say like with Tito, you could sleep with your doors open. Like that's how safe it was, right?
Wow.
Meanwhile, also if you ever said anything bad about Tito, you would just disappear the next day. Okay.
So we love Tito.
Yeah, we love Tito. Okay.
I sleep with my door open a lot.
Yeah.
From Tito.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of the same thing.
And so basically the war started because he died, and people were like, who's gonna be in power next, right? And the country like split into 7, and one of them,
that's wild.
Yeah, and one of them is Serbia, another one is like Croatia.
Okay, so it's
right?
not that crazy that I asked that question.
The crazy part is that there is now Bosnia, which is not only inside of Bosnia is there a Federation of Bosnia, there's also a Republic of Serbia in Bosnia. So Serbians got Serbia, Croatians
like
got Croatia,
that's Serbian inside of,
and Serbians still got part of Bosnia. So that is why the war was so devastating in that region, is because there were 3 main ethnicities, and they were all kind of like, the Serbians were like, well, there's more Bosnians here, so we obviously have to kill them all to get into power, right?
Oh, because they're like, whoever has the most people is going to be in charge.
So
instead of just being like, why don't you just go be in charge of your own space?
Right.
And we'll go do our own thing.
Well, so they wanted to like they basically wanted to seed off and have different regions, and a lot of Bosnians were bipartisan, and in the end it screwed them over because they were sort of just like, yeah, whatever,
Oh, wow. That is.
Yeah. And so
haunting.
that's the part of the complication there, because Bosnia has 3 main religions, 3 main ethnicities. But like, for example,
what are the 3 main?
So there's Catholic people, there's Orthodox people, and then there's Muslims.
Orthodox
Christianity. Yeah, okay. Sorry. There used to be a very small Jewish population, but they were kind of basically exterminated during World War. Yeah.
So they didn't get out of the camp.
Yeah. It was in.
Or they evacuated before. We don't know. They just kind of they went their own way.
It was the before time. So like the world wars and stuff. And the Balkan region has had a war almost every 50 years, like clockwork. So like we're like ready for one. Yeah. There were talks of another war happening, but then Russia and Ukraine happened, and Serbia was like, we'll pump the brakes. So and see. I think if Putin did really well, then Serbia would have moved in on other
And
stuff.
so is Serbia like Team Russia? They're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That I knew, but I don't know why.
Yeah. And then there's like the Serbians in Bosnia, so they don't say they're Bosnian, right? Like they just
go,
say
"I'm
they're Serbian. Yeah. Which like you can be a Bosnian Serb, you can be a
Serbian
you can be a
Bos.
Bosnian that lives in Serbia, but that's rare. You know, there's a whole region called the Sanjak region where it's part of Serbia, but everyone there is Muslim.
And Muslim is not the main religion of Serbia.
No, exactly. So that's why it's
What
so
are
complicated.
Serbians? Orthodox,
Christian.
okay.
Christian, yeah.
And was the whole war just over like we want to be in charge of the whole space, or was there like religious implications?
I think so. It was mostly, I think, between. It's complicated. So there's a little bit of both, right?
Okay.
I think the religious complication is very interesting because technically it was a communist country. So like under Tito, like you weren't ever supposed to like, you know, like show
There
your
was no
religion
religion.
publicly,
It was
right?
Tito.
Yeah, but people would like practice in their home and like
And nobody
whatever.
got like bothered for that. It was just like, don't.
I think there was a little bit underlying of like, well, we should be able to practice whatever we want. So I feel
Yeah.
like now after the war, people have gotten like even more religious and kind of more like,
Outspoken about their
yeah, both
beliefs.
and how it ties to their ethnicity. So it's a
Wow.
complicated thing. Yeah.
Like
Which has been a struggle for my identity too, because I'm like, I feel very Bosnian, but I don't feel very Muslim.
Yeah, does your family like really practice the religion?
My parents like really believe in a God, and they believe in like Allah and like there being one God and in Islam, but they never really like, we never really went to mosque growing up. My dad would like go on the holidays and stuff, and like my parents will sometimes like fast, you know, during Ramadan and stuff. And I was like, you know, into fasting when I was a kid, but not for the religious aspect, just because I was like, I love a
be so
challenge.
hot.
No, I
Oh.
was like, no, I was literally like, I want to fast as many days as possible because I love a number goal.
Yeah,
Because I'm
a
just
goal.
insane.
Yeah.
Um,
You're goal oriented.
and
Nothing wrong with that.
when I realized that, I was like, oh, I don't actually care about this on a religion level at all. I was like, I think I need to like reevaluate if this does anything for me. And organized religion for me, I realized, is just not the business.
Yeah. Do you have
Yeah.
any beliefs?
I think that you know, I feel like sometimes my sisters will tease me and be like, oh, like you're so like, you know, like atheist. And I don't think I'm atheist. Like I think I'm just really, I think I believe in energies and connection and like something in the universe.
That there's more.
But I don't believe in a traditional like
Religion,
God and
God.
heaven and hell.
Yeah, no, I think a lot. I feel very similar, and I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of religion, the organized stuff, is designed for
Yeah.
control and for
Yeah.
making up absurd, just human written
Yeah.
rules that nobody.
And I think it's beautiful. Like whenever somebody like, you know, I'm the first person to be like, yeah, I don't believe in religion. And then as soon as someone like shits on Islam, I'm like, well, actually, you know,
That's
I'm
so
like,
funny. Well,
yeah.
my thing is also
Yeah.
like always been like,
yeah.
if you believe in a thing and you're not hurting anybody,
Mhm.
you're not fucking bothering me about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same as like, yeah, you eat healthy.
Mhm.
And I like to be healthy sometimes, but what I don't need is for you to go, oh my God, do you know what's in that? Oh my God.
Right, exactly.
This is why that's bad for you.
That's the best
You should be doing
analogy.
this.
Mhm,
You should have
mhm.
spinach.
Well, my perspective on it is like, I feel like religion for a lot of people after the war has been a big source of community for them. And so I'm like, I'm going to let you do your thing. I really hate when people go to extremes though. I've never been that way.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
very much like a everything's true kind of person.
Very Bosnian of you.
You know? And so that's the one thing that bothers me. And I think that because I'm so liberal in other ways, like, you know, that some things just don't sit right with me, that I feel like I was really shunned a little bit from my community at times. And I wanted like so badly to be part of like my Bosnian community. And I never found that space for myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I kind of just like forged my own roads with it. And now I've met people, and especially other Bosnians, who are like, you know, like more similar to me or like have the same beliefs that I do, or like also didn't feel like they fit in, or like, you know, they have a lot of queer friends, or they're queer, or like they, you know, like don't really believe in religion, but they like love the traditions, you know, like stuff like that, where I'm like, okay, great. Or like Bosnians who don't eat meat, like they exist, you know, like it's like, you know, we're out there being different. So
yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
How did you find other Bosnians?
So the biggest thing that happened for me,
especially outside of like organized.
Yeah, I started a business directory for all the Bosnian businesses during the pandemic. Literally did it in one night. I had the idea at 2 a.m. and I just did it.
I respect this and also think it's the dorkiest thing I've ever heard.
No, I'm a huge dork.
But that's, I mean, that's so am I.
Yeah, I'm a huge, like, I'm
but
such
I love
a
that you
nerd in that
finished
way.
it.
Oh, yeah.
I would go, this is a good idea, and spend all night on a Word document and never go back to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the type of person that, like, I have so many projects that are unfinished, but then I'll get one idea at 2 a.m. and then I'll be like, let's just put all our eggs in this basket. Yeah. But so I started doing that, and then I like, now I have like internet friends who like I can't wait to meet one day, because I'm like, oh my God, these people are like me, or like the amount of people that have reached out to me. Like now slowly, I never really used to say that I was Bosnian like publicly with comedy stuff, because I just...
Did you not want to be put in a box, or do you feel like it's...
Yeah, I didn't want to be put in a box, and I also didn't want the judgment.
Serbian, I'm
and
sorry.
It's like a judgy small community, you know. And
so that it's like, if you did something a little edgy,
well, like
now
a woman doing comedy, what a shock! An alternative lifestyle, you know.
And then it's like, this is a blemish on the Bosnian
you
people.
know. So
if you did something a little off color or whatever.
Yeah.
Moki,
well,
why did I let her go?
You know,
Moki,
quiet, babe. Ooh, she literally looked up there to see if they're still up there.
We're doing them. Moki, come here.
Ooh. She's a terror.
This is hell on earth. I'm gonna need a studio. Come here.
You know what's funny is that if she was a Bosnian dog, her name would be Mirki. That's like a common.
How do you know that?
Because Mirki means
Moki's
like
a fake name. Means dark dog,
kind of,
and that's what they do.
It's just a common.
They just
name.
go black dog.
They're like mutt, like
you black dog.
Yeah,
that's
it's like Mitki and like Jackie and like things like that.
Dog?
Jackie, just Jackie.
Yeah,
but
Mackie
Jackie.
and Jackie.
Yeah, like Jackie Merkonia, like
What does Jackie mean?
Just Jackie, like literally just Jackie.
And that's a dog name.
Yeah,
a lot of dogs named Jackie.
Yeah. You explain.
Seems like
I can't.
Seems honestly like an attack on
Jackies everywhere.
On Onassis, honestly.
Yeah, Jackie.
Fucking offensive.
Yeah, so I never really but then slowly people kind of found out, and it's
word
really
got out.
sweet. Yeah, word got out, and I've been more public about it because now I have some bits about it, but it's really sweet. People will be like, oh my God, like you inspire me so much, like a woman doing like comedy, like a Bosnian doing comedy.
Hang on, sorry.
You're fine.
Sorry.
You're fine. I don't
So
know what you're talking about.
Now you've met people who like think it's really cool what you do.
Yeah, they'll like reach out and be very, very sweet about it. Every once in a while I get a really kind of off color message and stuff, but most of the time it's like really sweet people, and some people even being like, I've always wanted to do comedy, and like I've seen you do it, and like now I'm gonna go like sign up for like an improv class or something, right? And I'm like, that's really cool, to be honest.
No, I mean that's that's fucking rad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Yugoslavia split into 7 places.
Yes.
So Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia.
I always forget one.
Are these is this the Czech?
No. So it's like, you know, like
what is Herzegovina?
Oh, okay. Herzegovina is basically like southern Bosnia.
Okay.
So a lot of people, the Herzegovs, get really mad if you just say Bosnia and you don't say Bosnia and Herzegovina.
It's like
but
Trinidad,
I'm like, guys,
Trinidad and Tobago.
yeah, who's gonna say that? Please.
Herzegovina.
Yeah.
And that's like a different.
It's just like a region kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, like if you like Mostar, have you ever seen pictures of Mostar? It has like that bridge. They do the Red Bull competition there. It's like in southern Bosnia. That's considered part of Herzegovina, right?
Oh.
So, and they're kind of made fun of for like talking different and like whatever.
They're the South.
They're the South. They're the South. They're the South.
Yeah, I'm from Herzegovina.
But then
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Does
they're
it
gonna
there-
hate that.
Yeah, it's
But-
okay. I made
Yeah.
love to a soldier from there once. He was a U.S. soldier. He wasn't,
That's worse. That's actually worse.
but he was originally from there. Does that make him a traitor?
You know,
It wasn't love. I was drunk on an
Um,
island.
But then there's also like Sarajevo is also like southeastern Bosnia, and like where my parents are from is northwestern Bosnia. The country's so small, but you would think these are different worlds. Like it's
That's
crazy.
It's
Yeah.
so funny how people
Yeah.
want to other themselves, but then also be included, just as like a general
Yes, I think about this all the time.
humanity thing.
Isn't that bizarre?
I'm different. I want to belong.
Yes. I mean, I feel like I kind of do that with my choice in life and career a little bit, right? Because I feel like being different is my power, but the support of like belonging is like what makes us feel connected to humanity, right?
Yeah.
So
It's like you need the connection. It's,
Yeah.
it's like the universal paradox of
it totally.
wanting
yeah.
to be an individual, but also
Yeah.
completely belong.
That's such a salient point. Like I like truly like I just think I am one big paradox all the time.
I mean, I think we all are.
I hope so. It would make me feel better. For
There's someone
sure.
listening like, I think I belong. All
They're
the
like,
time.
I just fit in everywhere.
I'm not trying so hard to be unique.
Yeah, could
It's
never be
not
me.
that cool.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm in several clubs.
Yeah.
And I fit in.
And everyone loves me.
Everywhere I go,
yeah.
I'm beloved. So your parents, so this happened, like this big breakup situation happened in the 90s.
You want the quick and dirty of my parent story?
Yeah, give it to me.
Okay.
Give me the goods.
Okay, so I should preface this and say that like everything that I've kind of learned is not like I had like a sit down talk with my parents. It's kind of just like picking up tidbits from them, especially from my mom, because my dad, it's very difficult for him to talk about like what he went through. So mostly it's like my mom knowing things from him, or he'll like chime in every once in a while with
Just
stuff.
drop out a little nugget.
Yeah, he'll do this bizarre thing. He mostly does it to me, but sometimes he'll do it to my sisters too, where he'll just randomly reveal something that happened to him like 25 years ago, and like the most traumatic thing ever. And we're just like, what? Like he just randomly like out
You
of
think
the
at this
blue.
point he like forgets that he hasn't told you already?
Yeah, probably. And it's so funny because it's like my mom also never really let us ask him questions because my dad used to faint a lot. And like, this is something that actually like when people like someone recently asked me, they were like, oh, did your parents like sit you down and tell you what happened? And I realized that the first time I actually understood like a tidbit of what had happened is like my dad had fainted and he like had to go to the hospital and have all these tests run and stuff, and it was like maybe like the second time it had happened. And I asked my mom, I was really young, and I asked her, I was like, why does dad like faint, you know? And she had to like explain to me that he like was in a concentration camp and like what happens in concentration camps, and like she's like doing this in like Bosnian, right? So like I didn't know like the word. I learned the word for concentration camp in Bosnian before I knew it in English. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so it's like tidbits like that. So basically, like my parents are from a region called Prijedor, which is northwest Bosnia. And it was one of the hardest hit regions during the war because it's kind of in this weird section of Bosnia where it's like we're really close to the Croatian border. And then there are like the big towns there are all like mostly Serbian dominated, but then all of the outskirt towns are like Bosnian Muslim populations.
Oh, okay.
My mom's from a mixed town, meaning that like every other house was Serbian, Bosnian, you know. And my dad is from a town where he's actually like from Prijedor, but like his town is Rizvanović. And so that's a little bit, it's like a suburb sort of thing situation. So Prijedor's the like downtown, right? And so like that's all like
The big
Serbian.
city.
Yeah, the big city, you know. And his town, it's called the Brdo. It's a hill. That just means hill. And it's all Muslim populations up there. And so basically what the Serbian forces did is they moved in from the bottom and just kept moving in on these towns. And like there's nowhere to run, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it was so hard hit geographically.
Fuck.
Yeah. So basically my parents, this time in their life, they were married. They had just like built a new home, had like moved in. They had my sister, my oldest sister. And then she was very, very young, and my mom didn't know at the time that she was pregnant with my middle sister.
Oh.
So, she, the war, I think what a lot of people don't understand, which I didn't either, is that like when war happens to people, like your daily life is still going on, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy to think
like
about?
everyone isn't gone except for soldiers.
Yes. So like my mom is like, yeah, things would happen. Like I would go to buy bread and they wouldn't sell it to me and they'd say they're out. And then the person behind me is Serbian and they get bread. So like things like that started happening. Then they asked people to turn in their weapons if anyone had guns, you know. Like they were starting to patrol bridges in and out of like if you were Bosnian, they would like stop you. Like things like that were happening, right? And everyone was like, it's not going to be a war. It's not going to be a war. Everyone's like being stupid. Like this is just like because like there's some tension right now. Like nobody was like believing that things would happen. This is bad. Mm-hmm. And so basically like in my head the way that like the timeline works of like my parents' story is like the day that my dad was taken to the camps, because basically they went to a neighbor's house and my dad says like he vividly remembers that like they went to this house and this woman, like no one had like any food, so they would kind of like gather wherever they could and like kind of try to share food secretly. And like there were snipering like things going on, and so people were like
sniped.
Yeah, they were like everyone's lights were off. They would just like hide in people's houses. Like they started to hear that like families around town were being like taken, you know. And so they went to this one neighbor's house and my dad is like, I vividly remember she made the thinnest pita, which is like a traditional like Bosnian dish. He was like, you could see through it. Like when it was fully made, you could see through it, which is like layers of filo dough. Yeah, it's like burek, like it's like rolled with like meat and like filo dough. So it was really, really thin. So he's like, I vividly remember that happening. And then he was like, some people were like trying to go to the woods to like gather to see like, okay, like should we like fight back? Should we like build like, you know, a fortress? Like what do we do? Like the men are like gathering in the woods. And my dad was like, I don't know what came over me, but it was like the hottest day of the summer. Oh, is this plugged in still?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm just making sure my thing is still. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to
it's also
throw off
if
your
I'm breathing
story.
Heavy, I'm really sorry.
No,
It's
I
just
didn't mean
really
to do that
difficult
as you're
for me
taking a
to
really
talk
hard
about.
story. I just wanted to make sure it was.
I just like run out of breath and I try not to cry. So I
take your time.
It
was sorry.
So yeah, so my dad is like, it was like one of the hottest days of the year, and he was like, something came over me to like put on my work boots, which were like really, really thick, like alpinka is what they were called. Like they were like basically a winter boot, like really, really thick, sturdy boots. Like they were very expensive, and someone had brought them for him. And he was like, and then I put on my thickest winter coat because he's like, I don't know, I'm going to the woods. Like who knows what's gonna happen, right? And so they were sitting there, and he goes, you know, I'm just gonna go check out what's happening. Like I'll be right back, like in the neighborhood, right? And he never came back. Because he was stopped on the street and there was a huge van and they just piled him into there with a bunch of other men, and they told him to like lay flat down, and they were like all laying on top of each other in this bus. And he was like, okay, like I know what's happening. Like they're taking us to concentration camps. And he's like, the only way I knew what camp I was going to is that
It's okay. It's very emotional.
Yeah. He was like, the only way I knew what camp I was going to is he was like laying down, and he was like, I would like sneak a look out of the window. There was one window that there was, and he like grew up in this town, right? So he knows it like the back of his hand. And he was like, I realized what way we were going, and he was like, I had heard about it, and he was like, I knew which camp they were taking me to. And then we got there and he knew. And it basically like, it's actually like very lucky that like happened to him, because like a few thank you, Moki. A few doors down, like basically what they did to the family was they like took all the men out, and they made like the mom watch as like her sons and husbands were like lined up against a wall and just like shot one by one, and then they just left her like a few doors down. Yeah.
Oh.
And and then my mom she just never heard from him. And so it's like nightfall. So she's like, okay, well, like, I'm not like, I guess I'll go home. Like, I don't know what to do. You know, like I have a kid. I have to go change her diaper. Like I have to, like, I'm still a mom, you know? And she like goes home and she sees that there's like Serbians in the house. Like they were inside of the house, and they basically were like, I think they were outside, and they were like, which one is yours? And they were like, okay, like let us in to see what they have, to basically like, what jewelry do you have,
They're
what
just gonna
money,
take
you know.
everything.
And my mom was like, all I have is this diaper bag. Like, if you want diapers, like, you're welcome to have them. And my mom was like, she was like, some people were like hiding jewelry and stuff. She was like, I didn't care about like any of that. Like, she's like, it just didn't even dawn on me to like do that, you know?
Yeah.
And, they basically, part of this I like won't share because it's like not my story to share, but basically she was like with a neighbor lady and my dad's aunt, and they used to live next door to each other. My aunt and my parents, my dad's aunt and my parents, and they were basically like, okay, well, like, who has money then? Because we're not like leaving without money. And they were, my aunt, I don't know like what came over her, but she was like, I'll take you guys next door, just like leave them here.
Yeah.
And the soldiers were like, okay. And I mean, they're like fully masked, like, to give you an idea, like hiding their identity, like all this stuff, right? And so they take the aunt over there, and like, I won't describe what happened, but like effectively she was like violently assaulted. And my mom is like hearing this, and she's like hearing the screams, and her neighbor says to her, she goes, like, we have to go. And my mom is like, no, they told us, like, they locked us in here, we can't go, they're gonna see us, like, we can't, like, we're stuck in here, you know. And her neighbor was basically like, okay, do you hear what's happening right now? It's either we leave now or that's gonna happen. And my mom is like, how do I leave her knowing what's going on, you know? And the neighbor takes my sister out of my mom's arms and jumps out the window. And my mom's like, what the fuck? It's like second story over there, but like basically what would be third story here. The houses are really tall. And my mom is like, what the fuck? Like, I'm going to break a leg if I jump out of this building. And she's like, well, I have your daughter, so you're either coming with me or you're staying in there. And so my mom jumps out the window.
Jesus Christ.
They run through the cornfields. They see them. And so they send snipers out there to like go hunt for basically my mom. And the other thing that was like happening at the same time is my mom is hearing people call her by her maiden name, that they're like looking for her. And my mom's like, no one knew my maiden name in this town. So she like recognizes one of the voices, and she like knows it's people from her town, which is like maybe like 30-40 minutes away, right? And she's like, oh yeah, this people have been looking for you, like, Minka, like, you know, like, you should go hide somewhere because like people have been looking for you. And my mom's like, what the fuck, you know? And she like has no idea where her family is, right? Because it wasn't like you could just call, like, no one had a cell phone or something, right? It's the 90s. And she basically, like, that person that was like effectively hunting her, like, he works now at the bureau, like downtown, like, and she recognizes him and she sees him all the time when she goes back now, and just like no consequences.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like that. It's an insane story.
Is that the person who told her that though?
No, it was somebody. She like recognized the voice because she went to school with him. They were in the same grade.
Oh,
and she knew who it was.
so it's like because she was in a mixed town.
Yes,
they were like,
yes,
get all the Bosnians.
Yeah. And they had known that my mom had married into that town, but no one knew her new last name, you know? Like, so basically like this like goes on where my mom is like hopping between like refugee camps and like concentration camps. They catch them. They're like basically told like, you know, you guys can't stay here. We're going to send you to like these other camps in a different part of the country. Right.
Jesus.
And my mom gets dropped off. There's this huge, like, I don't know, I guess it's a mountain range. Like they basically like dropped them off at this mountain, and they were like, you guys have to walk to the other side. Cause right. It was like zones of like two warring sides snipering at each other, right. Between Croatia and Bosnia.
What the fuck?
And they drop off this busload of people. And my mom, I think that when she told me, I think we tried to convert it and like look on a map. I think it was 30 miles. They walked straight with like my sister in her arm, and she's pregnant and doesn't know it, is there alone, has no one, like just walks across this like basically mountain for 30 miles, right, on her feet. And then they get there and she's like, where do I go, kind of thing, right? There's a whole other like short stories there of like she stayed with a Croatian family and like one of the guys was like in the war, but they were very nice. And she's like, do we realize that like each of these sides is trying to kill each other, but like we're, you know, like we're just humans, you know? And like the wife was really sweet. I like still to this day wish that my mom could like remember their names so we could like find them and stuff. And then like my dad was basically in 2 concentration camps. And there's some funny stories there too. But he basically went to 2 concentration camps. I think total it was like 5.5 months. And yeah. And the way they were reunited is basically, so like I said, all this other stuff was kind of like happening in different regions. So it's not like there was just concentration camps in like a few places. Like there were a lot where my dad is from. There were like 3 or 4 places. But it was, it was all over the country. And my dad like said like, you know, sometimes they would send like newscasters in to like be like what's going on and like film and whatever. And they would be like, oh, it's just like a holding camp, you know, like whatever, you know. And
holding for what?
Yeah, exactly. Like they're prisoners of war, right? But we're feeding them. They show video footage of them giving them food. Like that. Those were the only days they got fed, right? Like were the days where they're like, filming.
They're just holding these people.
Yeah. They would literally give them powder to eat, by the way. Like my dad was like really bloated when he got out, and we always joke that he's like the only person that like gained weight.
That's so
but he
funny.
didn't, right? He was just bloated. He lost all his muscle. But so basically like they wouldn't even let you like get up to pee, like nothing, right? Like it was just like you were there. And then every once in a while they would like pick people to like go to this thing, which was ironically called the White House. And basically if you went in there, you didn't come out. And my dad was in there. And
there was no like discretion. It was
it was just random.
Yeah.
And if you whatever, right? Sometimes they would target like really educated people, or like if someone talked back, or like if someone had a personal thing with someone, right? But my dad was in there, I think he said 2 or 3 times, and I don't know what he saw in there.
Wait, so they brought people in there and not some people?
They would beat them sometimes they would kill them. It was just like luck of the draw kind of thing. And my dad said that like the day that he thought that he was gonna die was he basically, they're dead asleep, like everyone's sleeping, and he just feels someone like knock his like boot, and he like wakes up and he goes like that to him, like he points to him to go outside. And my dad's like, okay, well this is it, right? And he goes, what kind of shoes are those? And my dad's like, you know, the boots that he wore. And he's like, what size are they? And he like tells him his size, and he's like, okay, take them off. And he takes them off and gives them to him. And then he goes, and my dad's like, is that it? And he's like, yeah, go back to bed. And for some reason, I have no idea. Like, thank God my dad wore those shoes, right? Like the stupid fucking shoes, right? And
this is why you line up for Jordans.
This is exactly why you line up for Jordans. Which is so funny because the biggest fight my dad and I ever got into was over my Jordans. He desperately wanted to know how much I paid for them. I think secretly because he wanted a pair and didn't know how much they were. But I was like,
those are so cool.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to tell you. Why would you ask me how much I paid for something? You know,
it's rude.
Yeah, and like jokingly. And then he got really mad at me, and then I had a chip on my shoulder. I was like, well, now I'm really not going to tell you. Like the most Balkan fight ever.
That's so funny.
But so basically like that happened, and then my dad is so funny. He also started like a small business in the concentration camp. Like people were like trading stuff for
Jewish?
cigarettes. I know. I really think we are. We literally have a running joke in my family that my mom is Jewish. It's very funny. Not for racist reasons, just because like we literally think that she was part of that Jewish population that converted to like Islam.
Just to like for safety.
Probably.
But or for whatever reason.
All of her best friends are Ashkenazi Jews. It is like,
we're a good people.
If my mom knows you, you're a Jew. Like it's, you know, you are good. I love a Jewish person. Like I do. And pastrami. Hello, come on,
Oh my
bagels.
God, we should go get pastrami
Yep.
sandwiches.
Yeah. Oh yeah, let's go.
We should go eat your dad's feelings.
Yeah. And so basically my dad, people would like trade things, and my dad never smoked, but smoking is like very popular in Bosnia. And he would like he would find cigarettes sometimes and then trade them for food from people
Wow.
and like snacks or other things, right? And then he also, like, when people, sometimes there would like it be deliveries from like the Red Cross or something to the camps, like clothes, shoes, whatever, right? And this was like towards the end of the war when they were starting to release people, and people
Also,
were
the
like,
Red Cross coming to the camps. It's like, that's what you're doing? You're just
Oh.
bringing clothes to the concentration
there's
camps?
a great story about that too that I'll share with you. So he basically, people were like, oh, how are we going to carry all this stuff, you know, like as if they have anything, because people were like, we don't have anything. So they were just trying to like take as much stuff as possible, right? And so my
Yeah.
dad started sewing bags with an old coat hanger that he found, and like selling the bags to people and trading things for
The bags.
like, it's so funny to me.
I mean, that's also so,
It's so sad but
trading
cute.
cigarettes.
Yeah.
Everyone else is suppressing their
Yeah.
appetite with cigarettes.
He's
and
like, you want a Lucy? Yeah. Yeah.
he's like, I got bags.
And he ended up being, his dad and him ended up in the same concentration camp and stuff too. And so at least he had someone there.
Did his dad make it out?
So this is a very funny story. So my grandpa did make it out. He's alive, but there was a very funny story about, he was beat one of the days there because
Sorry. I was like,
hilarious.
hilarious.
Well, because one of the soldiers kept asking, how do you know so and so? And he's like, I have no idea who you're talking about. He's like, yes, you do. It's your neighbor. And they like kept like pressing on him,
And
right?
he literally had no idea.
But from my dad's town, everyone goes by nicknames. And so he didn't know this guy's real name. They've been friends for like 30 years. He didn't know this guy's real name. I mean,
I
the
hope he got to
funniest
say
thing.
that to that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so funny.
I thought your name was Jukebox this whole
Yeah,
time.
I think it was my grandpa. Sometimes my dad like tells stories and I'm like, I hope I'm remembering everything correctly. But
I mean, it's still like, to have that deep of a nickname.
oh yeah.
That people like,
And they're
like
stupid.
they're probably very good friends.
Yes.
And
The
he,
neighbors
for the life of
yeah.
him, has no idea that's
I
his
mean,
real
it
name.
is so funny. So going back to the Red Cross thing too, the way that they made it out is because one of the reporters that was there, I think he was British. This, I've never been able to find this story anywhere, but my dad has told me this one. So you're getting exclusive tea.
This is crazy.
He visited and he was like, something is not right here. Like, none of this makes sense. Like, they were letting like journalists in, and he was like, I'm going to come back another day, you know? And
Yeah, they were like fudging the news.
right.
Literally fake news.
And I don't know how he got this, but apparently the reason that this concentration camp that my dad was in was found out about what they were doing and why other countries got involved is because this reporter came back with a watch that had a secret camera recorder in it. And
That was a real journalist.
and he came back and he recorded stuff and he like showed it to people. And so then quickly after that, it got shut down and they let people send one letter to people. Everybody got in the camp. Everyone got one letter. And my dad's like, which address would I send it to? Everyone's either been killed or, you know.
You don't know where they are.
You don't know where they are. I don't
This
know
is just a
where
way
my
to
wife
find
is.
more
Right.
more of us.
My dad, who has the worst memory of anybody who I've ever met in my life, by the way, he remembered. Yeah. But he remembered my mom's dad. So my grandpa on my mom's side, he used to work in Austria because that was very common back then. You would like work other places, come home for the weekend.
Austria.
Yeah.
Austria.
Austria.
Is that with the accent? Austria.
And he had a little apartment there, right? So he would live there during the week, come home on the weekends, right? Probably second family, who knows? I'm kidding. Love you, Grandpa. He's dead. So for some reason, my dad, who has never, like, I think he went there maybe once or something. He was like, the only way I remembered it is I closed my eyes and I thought about the number on the door and I wrote down the address and I just prayed that it got
right.
there, and it got there. And my dad goes and finds, my grandpa goes and finds my mom at this refugee camp. And my mom had like slowly started finding family members and stuff.
So she
right?
made it
and
to a
being
refugee
reunited.
camp.
Yes, which is like basically the same thing, but a little better. And
It's just a better PR.
yeah,
agent.
literally.
Yeah.
And she, my grandpa's like, I got a letter. Like, he's alive. And my mom's like, that's from months ago. Like, there's no way.
There's not a chance.
Right. And so then they tell the people there, they're like, they're going to start releasing people from the camps. Everyone can go like wait and see who gets released. And they release people by generation. So like the oldest people get let out first, and then the youngest people get let out last. And my dad was part of the youngest generation. He was actually my age when he was in the concentration camps. And my mom is like waiting. There's no one coming. She's like, everybody's out of there. Like, you know, she's just like, it's over. Right. And my dad, this is how poetic life is. Okay. He is the last person, the literal last person to walk out of the camp, and he closed the door. And then they were on the first plane that came to Seattle. It was them and one other family and then a bunch of other single people. It was the first group that they were allowing to come to Seattle.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Like absolutely bonkers.
Imagine getting out of a concentration camp and they're like, don't worry.
Yeah.
We're going to Seattle.
No, it's actually,
just-
my parents were screwed over. That's why they
Really?
ended up in Seattle.
Were there other places?
So this is how
I was just talking shit on Seattle.
war
I mean, that
is
is beautiful.
yeah, war is
I mean,
the biggest
terrible, but-
money maker that you can think of for
Yeah.
people.
It's disgusting.
It's just it's absolutely disturbing. Also let me know, I'm talking so much, but if you have questions, let me know.
I'm just taking it in. You're a great storyteller.
Thank you.
I have almost cried a few times and really tried to suck it back.
Yeah, I know, me too. But so basically what happens is when you are applying for amnesty, you are supposed to get help to get placed somewhere. And the people that get prioritized are families, because it's harder to place a bigger group of people.
That's right. That's why you come in your wife.
Yeah, exactly. That's why a bunch of people were like rushing to get married, basically.
Oh my
Because
God,
they were
to
like
get-
trying to go places.
Oh my God. It's
right?
like all the people who are trying to get fake
Yeah.
illnesses to get the vaccine.
So, I mean, the war
Or-
is still raging on, right?
That's
And
fucking
so
crazy.
it's like,
Are there still people in some camps?
yes. Yes. And so basically what happened is my parents were in this refugee camp in Croatia. And the person who was working there with the Red Cross, he was a translator. And they had told everyone like, hey, the first people to go will be families. So like single people, hold on tight, it'll be easier to place you, right? And
As if life hasn't been hard enough.
enough on single people, yeah.
I'm 40. I'm single. I'm in a refugee camp.
But so basically, like a long time goes by and my parents are like, what the hell? Like, we're the only family left here. Like, what's going on? Right. And basically a bunch of people had paid this translator to place them. Like all the single
Not
people,
fa-
all the families, everything,
You
right?
scumbags.
And my parents were just like, you know, my parents love them to death, but they are the most honest people that I've ever met. And they were just like, what's going on? Like, they were confused, you know? And my mom, I love her so much because this is exactly like, there are so many stories that are just like, this is how feisty she is. And this is the probably only reason my family has survived anything is she goes up to the translator guy and she goes, what the hell is this? Like, why are we here? Like, we have a meeting every week. You're supposed to go to the meeting every week. They say who got their assignments, right? And it was becoming really bleak because there were like, Germany was rejecting people. You could only be there for 6 months. Everyone who had gone there was like getting kicked out already. The only options left were like Norway. And my mom's like, I'm not going to fucking Norway. She was like, even Hungary, like no clothes, no shelter, anything. She's like, I'm not living in the snow.
I'll stay in the camp.
You know, she's like, yeah, she literally was
That's
like, I'll stay.
so funny.
It's hilarious. And then
I will not live in the snow.
the other option was Australia, and all she knows about Australia is that it's on the end of the earth. She was like, what's the
end
plan?
of the earth?
Yeah, she's like, I'm not going to Australia. Like, it takes over 24 hours to get to Bosnia from
You could have
Australia.
been raised in Australia.
I know, but thank God I didn't.
Yeah.
And too many snakes. But she,
Crikey.
so she says to the guy, she goes, I'm bringing my kids to the next meeting because at the meeting is the other Red Cross people who don't speak Bosnian, right?
Yeah.
And so she says, I'm bringing my kids to the meeting. And he goes, no. Like, I promise I'll get you placed. Don't bring them. And she goes, no, I'm going to get them placed. And I'm going to remember everything that you're saying in English, because I might not understand it now. But when I learn English in a couple of years, I'm going to remember every single thing that you said. And I'm going to haunt your life. Like, this is what my mom, my mom like told her. She was like, I will haunt you, dude. And so
I'm going to tell everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they show up, and immediately my mom sees the lady go over to him and be like pointing at them and being like, why are they still here? Like, she could figure out that they were fuming at him. Like, my family was literally the last family, like, in that whole like camp region, everything. Everybody else was single.
What the fuck?
And so the lady comes over, and my mom said to him too, she's like, you better translate everything I say correctly or I will fuck you up, was basically what she said to him. And they
Tell her I said that.
Yeah. Yeah. She was like, come on. And so the lady was like, well, where do you guys want to go? And my mom's like, I don't know. You know, what are the options?
Hawaii.
Yeah. What are the, like, there's literally, you don't get to
Is
pick.
Fiji taking refugees? Just get me the fuck
Well,
out of here.
Someone has to sponsor you. So my parents are like, where can we go? Like, what are the options?
Who's taking new teammates?
And all my dad said was, listen, guys, at this point, we don't care. We need to get out of here. Like, where is it going to be best for my 2 little girls? Because at that point, my other sister had been born in the camps. And so it was my oldest sister and her, and they were young. They were babies. Okay. And so, they say that, and the guy, and one of the guys that was helping goes, I think we want to, a plane just opened up for Seattle. Do you guys want to go to Seattle? And my parents are like, we don't know. We've never heard of Seattle. What that is. Right. Go. They're like, it's in America. They go, okay. And so my dad finds a map at like an old school that was there. And my mom had never been on a plane, but my dad used to fly for work. He used to work in Algeria. So he knew the distance.
Your dad worked in
That's
Algeria?
a whole other story.
Well, we'll have
Best
to have you
years
back.
of his life, if you ask him. So
Thanks.
We once asked him, we were like, what's the best year of his life? He said before any of us were born, before he met my mom, it was when he was working in
I
Algeria.
flew planes to Algeria.
Yeah. So he was like, I know this distance is this long from here, because he used to fly from Croatia. So he's like, from Croatia to Algeria was this long. So he takes a string and he's like, okay, so this to here is this long and this to America is this long, right? And he goes, this is so, he's like, I hope I'm reading this right. Like, he says to my mom, he goes, but like, so they're going to take us from Croatia to Vienna, and then from Vienna to New York. And he's like, that like plane ride is going to be just as long from New York to Seattle, basically.
They were just like, oh, fuck, we're going really far away.
And my mom goes, you're fucking crazy. Like, there's no way that across the ocean it's the same as America. Like, America can't be that big.
Nobody thought the U.S. was that big. In Europe,
she was like,
the U.S. on maps is like this big.
Yeah, they're like, there's no way it's going to take that long. And my dad, this is how he is. He goes, okay. Like, he's like, you're like, I don't care. Like, he's like, fine, we'll see how long it takes.
I relate
right?
to your dad. I would go, I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong.
Yeah. And sure enough, it was like my mom.
Just side eye on the plane.
My mom said when they landed, she was like, if I could have walked home, I would have walked home. Because they go to Vienna. And by the way, they saw Bill Cosby there. The first time my mom ever saw a black person, it was Bill Cosby at the Vienna airport.
Wow.
Crazy.
And then, that's the only black person that's ever been in the Vienna airport.
Yeah. And
just kidding.
We were huge Cosby fans, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Like my parents were like, we know that guy. And I was like, no, you don't. And they were like, we know that guy. He was performing in a glass cage at the Vienna airport, like filming something. I can't even.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. And then so they make them stay overnight in New York with their paperwork, right? And then you go from New York to Seattle, and then that's how they landed. And then we were joking about the firework booms and how Moki was afraid of those and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so Seafair is a huge event in Seattle. I don't know if you've heard of this.
No.
But they basically take fighter jets and they do aerial shows. And my parents...
Oh, God.
My parents...
fresh out of a war.
Are fresh out of a war, staying with a crazy sponsor who told them that they can't leave the house because her son is crazy, so they shouldn't walk around very much. And she put them in her attic. And then
what in the fuck?
That's a whole other story. We could have a whole other podcast.
You should do a whole podcast just
Yeah.
dissecting all of this.
But they do the fighter jets start flying over. Everything's like shut down, right? And my parents are like, it's starting. Like the war is here. It's starting.
It's inescapable.
Yeah.
We'll never be free.
Yeah. So yeah,
That's so
long-winded
horrific.
story. But then they ended up on the richest part of Washington, Mercer Island. Shout out. And
Started from the bottom. Now we're here.
not so difficult on refugees, you know. But,
I
you
mean,
know, that's the long story short.
damn. Well, so how has do your parents speak English now?
Yes. Yeah. Also, my dad has an excellent vocabulary, which
He
I think is
does?
so. Yeah, he wanted to learn a word a day,
That's
and so
cute.
he would learn a new word every day, which is really cute.
Wow.
Yeah.
Am I doing that with Duolingo? Probably not.
Well, he would take the English classes and then he would teach them to my mom. So I'm sure something got lost in translation, but because they were my mom would work nights and my dad would work during the day.
Do they cuss? Do they cuss funny?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, my favorite thing was this kid in high school moved over from Russia named Ilya, and he just would say the funniest comment, "Mother bitch."
Yeah. It's so, I mean, my
Best.
dad, my favorite thing is when he swears in English, he says fucking shit. Like, you know, he doesn't say shit, he says shit.
Shit.
And my mom would always be honest about swearing. My dad too, but really my mom swears like a sailor. Like, you should hear this woman, like, especially in Bosnian. But I'm like, she's worse than all of us. Like,
Dude, parents are fucking hypocrites.
yeah.
We don't
yeah.
fucking swear in this family.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, that's literally it. Yeah. And my dad, he doesn't mind as much anymore, but he hates the word piss. Like, if
Damn.
you say I'm pissed off, he would always be like, no swearing. And I'm like, Dad, that's not swearing.
That's weird. That's a fucking
Isn't that funny?
such a specific thing.
Right? I'm like, what happened to you?
Yeah.
You know?
What are they?
Yeah.
What were they doing with piss?
You know? So,
Ugh.
yeah.
Wait. So, is that still did that come to an end?
So, great question. So you asked about the U.S. involvement and stuff.
Yeah.
So this was a pretty controversial thing because I don't know if you remember, but shortly after the Bosnian War, there was a genocide in Rwanda.
I loosely remember
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know if I was old enough to understand what genocide meant. I
yeah,
remember when I literally thought euthanasia just meant Asian kids.
and it does.
And I was like, what's wrong
Yeah.
with the euthanasia? I don't know why it's a problem. And I'm sure this is like a
Yeah.
dad joke that somebody's made. I literally
You literally heard it
thought
as that.
I was like,
no,
I know
you
words.
were so young that I wouldn't expect you to
Yeah.
remember, you know, and when I was in school, they had I think just started teaching about Rwanda, and I was fascinated by it because the way that they taught us about it was by saying that the US and other countries fucked up so bad in Bosnia that they stepped in quicker on Rwanda, still not quickly enough. But they fucked up so bad that they were like,
That they were like,
there's
we can't do
another
that again.
genocide. We can't do this.
We can't
again."
wait. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like,
You're like, oh, good. I'm glad we got to be the lesson you learned.
yeah, it was not great, their involvement. Obviously, the UN really, really fucked up.
What took so long?
I
Does
think it
anyone
was
know?
just that people couldn't believe that what was happening. And also think about journalism was so different where it's not like we're getting instant news, right?
Yeah.
It was other people spinning journalistic stories to other countries.
Yeah,
right?
and if you're with what you're saying with a journalist showing up and then being like, this is just what this
Yeah.
is. It's part of war.
And I think
Acting like it's totally normal.
And I also think the concept of a modern refugee was so different where I think when people thought of immigrants, they thought Ellis Island immigrants, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And oh, you're Italian or whatever, right? I don't think that anybody understood what it meant to be a modern refugee.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate to use that term, but I think people and countries, not dismissing this, I think people knew what was going on and just I think they fucked up and didn't step in, right?
Yeah.
But I also think there is a case to be made for people didn't really understand how to handle this displaced population.
Yeah, because it's we want to help, but where
Yeah.
do we put everybody?
Yeah.
Because I think about that all the
Yeah.
time. Is that I would love to.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to let a refugee stay here
Yeah.
or sponsor someone, but where?
I know. And like the people that sponsored my parents, it was like through a church, you know, so it was a lot of just like good-hearted people. This is why like I always am like religion is good sometimes, because like if it wasn't for that church, and my parents are still friends to this day with most of those people, except for the actual person that sponsored them was an evil witch. She's actually like abused them. Like it's like, and I didn't realize that until literally this year when my friend was introducing me to her mom, and they're also Bosnian. And she goes, like Arijana's family has a really rough story. Like their sponsor abused her parents. And no one had ever framed it like that for me.
Dude, that's how abuse, like the realization of abuse happens to so many people. Yeah. That people go like, wow, I'm so sorry you were abused. And you go, that's what that was.
Yeah. No, literally.
Oh.
Like similarly, we were talking about like realizing that you've gone through trauma.
Yeah.
My dad only this year said to me, he goes, I think I had PTSD when we first got here.
I
was like,
he's under the table.
I'm like, yes.
Yeah, of course you did.
He goes, and I was also probably a little depressed. And I go,
a little?
Like, because they didn't have the words for it.
Yeah.
And
well, that's what I wonder too, is that like what is, and then maybe that shifted, and I don't know if it's different like Bosnian American, but even because you had said at the beginning of this, I wish they'd had the resources. Do you think that your parents would have utilized the resources?
That's the other difficult question, right? Because it's so not different. Part of our culture. It's not part of their generation. It's not even really, I think it's only now starting to become part of my generation,
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I think a lot of our parents, therapy. What are you, crazy?
Well, I had this, like, one of the biggest things for me to reckon with, like, I haven't had a very traumatic life, thank God. Like, thank God that I will probably never go through what my parents went through, like, for real. But I don't mean this to like sound dramatic, but like my parents' lives have deeply affected the way that I live mine. And I'm only now understanding that at close to 30. And it's been a very difficult, like reconciliation of like not feeling like guilt or resentment about that, And like there's things where it's like, oh, I have anxiety because of like this is how I was raised and this is what I think happens if you do this, or like it's very different to be raised out of fear than it is out of love. And I don't blame my parents at all, and they were excellent parents, but there's some things you can't control.
Well, that I think everyone, I think most people with parenting do the best they can, and
of course,
that's why that there's so much research being done and so much talk now more about generational trauma and how like like if you're raised by someone who is afraid of everything, you're going to be afraid of everything.
Like exactly. You're
and
terrified.
Whereas so much anxiety that you might have, or that even they say so much of anxiety in a lot of people who maybe even aren't being raised by in that circumstance is like our brain in its like animalistic reacting to like these primal fears, but even though they're not there, we still have this thing. But then you add in being raised by people who are like, I saw this happen. That like,
and it like kills me that it's like my parents' whole life is different because of that. You know what I mean? Like they will just never get over that, and there's nothing that I can do, and you feel a lot of responsibility like as their kid to like help them and to like not give up on them and to like coach them through things, and like you end up becoming a parent emotionally in some ways,
which is hard, and like being parentified
at an
fucks
early
you
age.
Up in certain ways it definitely sets you up to be a certain way, and I relate to that deeply. It's not the same, but like
I mean, we've talked about this before.
Like, my mom was just mentally ill because like
no, but it's like a similar thing, and I think it's also like I had this like really big moment with my mom a couple years ago because she would always be on me about like how I like burn myself out and I don't take care of myself and I get like really tired and then I like crash and like I never do anything nice for myself. And she's like, the way she would do is like she would always be on me about like doing like my nails or my hair or like getting a massage, and I just have never liked doing that stuff. And she like kept pushing this, and I finally like realized, and I said it out loud to her for the first time. I was like, Mom, do you understand that the reason that I can't do any of those things for myself is because I never saw you do any of that for yourself growing up? And she kind of had this big moment, and I was like, Mom, I'm very fearful of doctors, and she also like she will make me make my appointment to go to the doctor. And I go, Mom, like, you always like have chronic health issues, and you won't ever like go to the chiropractor, go to the doctor. This bothers you. Like, you have this issue. Like, you never go and get a massage, even though you feel so much better when you go do it. Like, I still have to call and book her massages, but at least she'll go now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she like slowly, like after that, like a couple months later, she was like, well, I made my yearly checkup. And then like after that, she was like, so I'm going to go to the massage. And then like after that,
She's the most luxurious woman
she
on
got
earth
her
now.
nail. Yeah. And then she booked a vacation for her
She
and my
quits her
dad.
job.
I mean, like little stuff like
No,
that
yeah.
really is important to me, because like my parents don't, I hate to say this like this, it's going to sound really fucked up, but like my parents don't have much to live for. So at least live these years for yourself, you know?
They have a lot to live for.
Yeah, but I just mean like they shouldn't have to worry anymore. You know? Like that's what kills me, is I want them to just be able to like take a deep breath and relax, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But then like, that's so, you're the sweetest human on earth. But also I think that like her worrying about that stuff for you
Yeah.
is like, I mean,
It's an act of love.
for
really.
sure. I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but
Yeah.
even her like starting to do that for herself, is good. But God, it's like fucked up how we
Yeah.
just as a species, or I don't know if it's specifically a woman thing, like
Yeah.
want everyone else to be okay.
Yes.
But they're like, no, I have enough.
Oh.
But like, you're not taking care of yourself enough.
That is my mom.
But also like, I think
Yeah.
if she saw that you were doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like, oh no, why am I going to cry?
Yeah.
Every parent,
Yeah.
my understanding is, I just have a dog.
That's
I don't
close
want to speak
enough.
out of turn. I think that like their life's work or goal, or when it all is like said and done,
Yeah.
before they
Hit the bucket.
get out of here.
Yeah.
Lucky ducks.
Take a vacation.
They want to know that their kids are going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like,
That's where all my guilt comes
well,
from.
especially
though.
when you're going after
Yeah.
an unconventional dream. And I can't
Oof.
imagine the extra guilt that comes from being
yeah.
the child of people who like really had to fucking, you know,
Yeah.
put the fucking nose to the grindstone and just get a job and like, you know,
Yeah.
build up a new life after you've gone through such crazy trauma. But like, I guess it's just like, I think it takes a certain, I think, I could be wrong. I don't know your mom, and you'll probably be like, no, she'll never relax
Yeah.
about
yeah.
this
yeah, no.
type of thing. But like,
Yeah.
as you start to like advance in your career and in
Yeah.
your life, and your sisters as well, I think
Yeah.
I would predict that more and more they calm down because they realize like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't, because it's like, you gotta, as a parent in general, but let alone coming out of a situation like that, go like,
Yeah.
God, am I gonna fuck up
Oh, yeah.
because I'm fucked up? But
And-
then like seeing like, you turned out great.
You know, and it is funny because like I do wonder if my parents think about it in those terms. Like I feel like modern parenting is like so new, of like, oh well, we do this and we talk through this feeling like this. Like parents didn't know how to. There were
People didn't
that
talk
was
through
not like
things.
that when we were growing up.
No, it
you
was
know?
do what I told you, and because
Yeah.
I said so.
And I think like the biggest thing for my parents was like they all really wanted us to finish school.
yeah,
And I remember like the worst years of my life, like the absolute worst were during college. Like I was
really.
oh my God, I was so miserable. I was so depressed. I was like wanting to take a year off. I mean, I graduated college at 20. Does anyone know what they want to do at 20 years old? If you do, congrats.
I have friends my age that I went to college with that still don't know what they
yes.
want to fucking do.
And I remember I was so miserable the first year of college. I hated my university. There was just nothing I was interested in there. I was always like, trying to like find a logical way to be creative, and it just never made sense in my head.
That's
you know,
such a funny like
Yeah.
trying to find a logical way to be
I
creative.
wanted to be pragmatic, right?
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's what I learned growing up. And my oldest sister is a lawyer. My middle sister is a teacher. And I think that my, like independence and maybe, which like I'm so type A that it's funny to me that I'm the one with the
That you're
alternative
the
lifestyle.
artist?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get
You
it.
know, but I remember I told my mom, I was like, I want to take a year off of school and figure out what I can do. And she lost her shit. She was like, guys, this is the most like Balkan like immigrant parent shit to do. She goes, guys, like they had like a family meeting without me. And she's like,
An intervention.
she's like, Ariana's depressed. She's going to quit school. We can't let that happen. Like she has to finish school. She's like, I think she just needs a break. I'm booking us a vacation. Like, like my mom didn't understand that. Like, yes, I was really burnt out. I was working 3 jobs. Like I was tired, but also like, I think my mom was just like, well, you'll just find something to like, right? Like you'll find like a major that you like, and like, you know, and like I was at the place in my life where I was like, oh, I'm going to be unhappy for the rest of my life.
Yeah, you're like, that's life.
Yeah. Like I just can't, I'm in these handcuffs that I feel like I'm just like operating in guilt mode, you know? And I remember when we like finally like all of us had like graduated and finished school, and my sisters went back, and like one sister did a master's, another one obviously got a JD. But I like my parents were just like so proud, and they were like crying, and I just kind of felt like I checked that box, you know? And I know that we're supposed to like do things for ourselves and stuff, and I'm happy. Like I always wanted to go to college and stuff, but like really most of it was for them.
For them, yeah.
And like going to that university that I like hated and stuff. And then like last year I actually went to Bosnia, and I don't know, I've never heard, like my parents are proud of me and I've always known that, but like I think it's so awkward to tell your kids that you're proud of them. Like, you know, like
I wish it was. It's like,
yeah.
It's not actually.
But to actually say the words like I'm so proud of you is like so awkward to me. And we were sitting in the car.
It wouldn't be if you were a little kid.
I know. Yeah.
Little kids fucking shit in the toilet for the first time, and parents go, I'm so proud of you. But God forbid you be like, good job, grown adult.
Right. Because I think it's just kind of like unspoken. Like I've always known that my parents are really proud of us, you know, and they've always said like, you worked so hard, like congrats, like it was your effort, you know, like things like that. Right. But we were sitting in the car, and it was like me and my sisters and my dad. It was just the 4 of us. And then my mom was in the other car with like her brother, sister, and our aunt. And we kind of like split the cars up that way so she would get some alone time with her family. And my dad was kind of having a rough time. And, he just like, we're driving and we're sitting there, and he goes, oh, I just don't know. I'm just so proud of you guys. Like, I just feel so lucky that I have you 3. And I was just, you know, I'd never really heard him express that before. And my dad is like really emotional and sentimental. Like he's not like a stoic guy at all.
That's so
but
funny.
Even so, like him just like randomly saying that, he was like, your mom and I just love you guys so much. And I'm like, you know, like they're like, my parents wanted to be parents so bad.
And that's who should be parents.
And that's who should be parents. I've never felt that bone in my body, but like I'm just so.
Not, if you're on the fence about it. Wait.
Yeah, I mean, like at least to me, it's like at least they didn't have like shitty kids, you know. Like at least they got that out of
that
life.
It's like
so.
It's also when you think of the stereotype of people being like comedians.
Yeah. It's shitty.
You're
know, it's
the
traumatic.
best case scenario of a kid wanting to be a comic.
People
that like you
always,
actually work hard.
Yeah.
You actually, and that's why you're gonna go far, is because you approach it from like a logical. I mean, being logically creative is like, you can just be creative illogically, but good fucking luck.
I don't want to be a starving artist, though. I think that's done. You know.
No.
Like,
also, so rude to have parents who are in concentration camps and then be like, "I'm a starving artist."
Yeah.
Oh, are you? Oh, you're living. Yeah, okay. I was starving once.
This is so funny to me because it's like, you know, other comedians will like see the relationship I have with my parents, and like I'm not saying everything's perfect, right? But like we have a really good relationship, and they'll be like, "How? Like what? Like, you know?" And I'm just like, when people complain about their parents, the stuff they complain about, I'm like, It sounds like they were just trying to have a rule
Oh
for
no,
you to be safe.
some people complain about like really normal things.
Shit, yes, I'm like shit that is just like they are just parenting.
There's
you.
a lot of times where I'm like, it kind of sounds like
Yeah.
you're being a big fucking
Yeah,
baby.
they're like, my mom called me. I'm like, go fuck yourself. She probably looks forward to that phone call every single fucking week.
yeah.
Like, some people really have trauma around their parents, you know.
If my mom calls me, something has gone terribly wrong.
Yeah, but I'm like, you know, other people can go fuck themselves.
Yeah. Which just really shows you how relative, I guess,
Yeah.
trauma is. That it's like
Totally. That's a really good point.
like, oh, your parents don't like love the apartment you live in or
Right.
something. Like
Right.
they don't really care for the person I'm dating.
Yeah, they paid for your sister's thing, but not you. Yeah, I'm just like, everybody grow up. Like,
Dude,
you know?
I remember realizing, when I realized I had a friend who used to fucking go on and on about her mom. And her mom was a little fucking,
Yeah.
but she would just tear into her
Really?
talking about her. Fine.
Sure.
You have a hard relationship.
Yeah.
And then I realized her mom was paying her rent. And I was like, you're out of your fucking mind.
No way.
You're out of your fucking
This
mind.
is the shit that kills me, Jessica. It's
How fucking ungrateful.
yes. Which, like, that doesn't mean that they should control your life.
No, but it's
then
like,
pick your battles.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just fucking draw a boundary
Okay,
or
can we-
make enough money to not.
I know this is a little unrelated, but
It's my whole life.
how many comics here have somebody else paying their bills?
I think you should have to wear scarlet letter.
I think you should.
I think it would actually be beneficial to the mental health of everyone for people to find out
Yes.
actually that person's not crushing it.
They
they make no money.
Yeah.
Someone is paying their rent.
I don't care if someone else is paying your shit, but just tell me.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge you. Good for you.
Yes,
Take advantage of that
congrats.
circumstance. I
Yeah.
hope you work really hard and you get to go as far as you possibly can because you can dedicate
Yeah.
all your time to working hard on this.
But like
Because you don't have to worry about surviving.
the people I see who are full-time comics, I'm like,
they're not even getting paid to do comedy.
I book more shows than them. How are they full-time comics?
Yeah.
I'm like, am I missing a piece? Like, what is happening?
Yeah. It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like I had to work my ass off to like
Yeah.
make all my money doing stand up, and then like even last year going through a breakup and being like, oh, I'm gonna have to absorb all of the bills that I was only paying half
And
of,
adjusting your
panicking.
lifestyle to basically like, I mean, you work so hard. You're a workaholic, but like, even just like knowing that you don't have that safety net is a huge, like, you just have you.
Yeah, like I don't think, and it's not even necessarily these people's fault, but
Yeah.
people who have a parent that at the end of the day, if they couldn't pay their rent
Yeah.
or if they needed to be bailed out financially, they could just call.
Yeah.
Those people will never understand like the just innate, like deep anxiety and fear that comes from having to be on your own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad.
Yeah.
I wish no one had to feel that way. I
Right.
wish everyone felt like,
You've been on your own a long time though too, which I think is
which burns you out. But-
yes. Yeah.
Well, and then I mean that also fucks you up in different ways because at a certain point you start being like, I can't.
Well, you
I
have
can't trust
trouble
anyone.
accepting help from other people, I've noticed.
Have you noticed that? I didn't notice. I didn't know that was a thing.
Which I think is like a common thing, right?
Oh yeah, but it's. What, are we about to be murdered?
What the hell was
What
that?
was that? Is there a fucking?
That was freaky,
That
no?
was creepy.
Yeah,
no, that. I mean, you can be so independent. Whether I could say like whether by choice, but it's
Mhm.
like. I loved one time my mom being like, "You were just so independent as a kid." And I was like, "No one was here."
Yeah, you're like, I had to be.
But like that it becomes detrimental because at the end of the day,
Right.
like I don't think anyone can really get. No one can reach their full potential. I'll say that. You can live
Yeah.
fine. You cannot reach your full potential of whatever that means without help.
Well, like immigrant families, I feel like have the opposite issue a lot of the time where there's so much codependence. So like me deciding to move, for example, was a decade-long battle. Like,
yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Like your family's like, no, who will cook for you?
well, no, it's
when you're too
yeah,
tired from working.
Yeah, literally. And I'm just like,
And let me tell you, it's not me. I'm sorry.
it's
I
Moki.
failed you as a substitute mom.
But it's just like, they just worry That's
Yeah.
what it is. It's worry, right? And it's a sweet sentiment, but it also, I've seen so many kids just be incapacitated by that, you know.
Oh
And
yeah.
in some
Well, you
ways,
can't break out of it.
right. And in some ways, I feel that I'm like incredibly mature and ahead. Like, I always felt like I didn't really get kids my age when I was like in high school, for example. Like,
Yeah.
I had friends, like, but I was never really
I've been
like
45 since I was 8.
same. I'm like, I literally, my friends were my teachers.
Oh yeah.
And I, you know, I would always, like, me and my sisters would always sit with the adults at the table, just like quietly listening. Like, we were very like curious kids.
Yeah.
We would just like, you know, whatever. We would like play with other kids, but most of the time it was just me and our parents, you know?
Yeah.
And then like as I got older, like now I feel like all my friends are catching up to like how I was.
Have been. Yeah.
Right. And then in other ways I feel like emotionally mature and mentally mature in a lot of ways, but then I'm like technically a late bloomer when we look at the stuff that traditionally makes you independent at a younger age. Like I didn't move out at 18. I didn't, you know, like whatever, right? But like it's so funny, like, you know, not trying like marijuana or alcohol or like whatever, right? And people being like, oh, you're such a nerd. And I'm like, now all my friends are sober. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
like,
you missed the window of
Yeah.
like party. They're like,
yes.
okay,
Yeah.
so like nobody
Yeah.
drinks anymore? Because I was going to
Yeah.
try a glass of wine.
Right. Yes, exactly. And so it's like I'm in this like weird phase in my life where like I finally feel like I'm picking myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not associating the guilt with it.
Good.
But I'm also like, I feel like the like nerdy kid that's like, should we like hang
Do
out?
we?
Yeah.
Should we do cigarettes? Fucking dork.
Yeah. How about cocaine? No, I'm kidding.
That was the only thing my mom said to me when I was like, I'm going to like really go for comedy. I'm going to move to LA and I'm going to like go for it. She's like,
yeah.
well, just, you know, don't become like a cocaine addict.
That's so
And that was it.
funny.
And I was like, that's it?
That's so funny.
All right.
I still don't think my parents fully understand that I'm going for.
Yeah, no, I wonder, I mean, for some
They
people,
do, they
in one
do.
way or another, it does end up
Yeah.
being a phase, but I wonder how many parents,
Right.
when their kid does this, they go, well, they'll grow out of it.
Well, I don't know
They'll
if your
come back.
mom's
They'll-
ever seen you perform.
It took my mom seeing me headline for her to, like,
Yeah.
feel okay. Like,
Right.
she never voiced,
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that there had to be some sort of, like, why is she I'm the anchor of the children. I'm the,
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
the stable one.
the gifted child who,
Yeah.
you know, does everything and
Yeah.
could in theory do anything. I don't say that in like a, but it's like
Isn't it freeing to be the clown?
Yeah, I'm like, what a
know?
bummer that it's like this kid is our fucking. She could cure.
Hurrah.
I think she could cure cancer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a clown.
But
But it took her seeing me to go like, oh, you're gonna be successful.
The reason I ask is because like my parents, I think they would like come to some shows and stuff that were like, you know, whatever showcase sets and
Yeah.
things. And sometimes it'd be difficult for them to like hear some jokes and stuff. But like, I think my parents like truly recently, the last time they saw me, they were really like, oh wow, like we actually get it.
Were you headlining?
Yeah.
That's how it is. My first time my mom saw me was a
Yeah.
short set, and she got mad from the crowd and yelled out.
That's hilarious.
like, but sorry, go ahead.
No, that's so funny.
But
to
it was
me.
like she saw me headline a show.
That okay, so the time before that, I've told Jesus Trejo this story, but I featured for him when he came to Seattle, and it was like the first set that my parents had seen of me in a very long time. And they come and I have like a killer set, you know, I do all this stuff, and I think that was like a moment for them where they were like, oh, she has something,
She knows-
you know, she's
yeah.
like working hard on this.
She's not a fucking idiot.
Yeah, she's not just like bumbling on stage, right?
Yeah.
But after the show, they loved Jesus.
Yeah, their favorite comedian.
My mom doesn't laugh out loud. She was literally slapping her leg. They were having a margarita. Like, it was like, yeah.
Wow.
And after the show, I go, what did you guys think? And they go, he was hilarious. Do you want me to get you his merch?
They
So-
asked if you wanted
Yeah,
them to buy you his merch.
which is so sweet, right? They were like, do you want to remember this show? Right? But
That's
they
cute.
didn't. I was like, I featured for
And
him.
you're like,
I think
what did you think of his openers? Did you guys know that was me?
And
Or
also he you know, is from an immigrant family too, and so it was really
like there's probably a
yeah.
little bit of relatability.
But
or
yeah, and then when they saw me headline, I don't know if I shared this with you when I came back, but my dad the next day, like I see him and he's like, "Oh my God, like you wrote all of that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You were up there for an hour." I was like, "Uh-huh." He goes, "I can't believe that." It's like, and like very sweetly being like, "I'm so proud of you. Like I
That's
can't
so cute.
believe that like that came from you, you know." And he's like, to watch you just up there alone, like and they invited all their friends.
Oh my
you
God.
know, like so cute. And now my
That's
mom
so
will like
cute.
text me every time someone like asks about it.
Oh yeah, no, my mom, if I'm somewhere, she tells her friends because she's like,
it's her way of being proud of you though,
Yeah.
right? Don't you think?
oh, for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, there is a little bit of
Yeah.
whatever. She's proud of me.
Can I ask you this? Do you think that you doing comedy has mended your relationship with your mom in some ways, or shown you a different light with her?
I think me doing comedy has made my relationship with my mom like the best it's gonna be. But I think some of that is because me doing comedy has allowed me to expand my existing ability to like find ways to laugh at things.
And process.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also when you do the thing you love, there's such a weight off of your life, even when it's stressful, you know, that like
yeah.
the difference in if I had just done something to do it, to be like, well, I'll just
Clock
get
in,
this
clock
job,
out.
clock in. That I think that would seep into all parts of my life. And I think because I chose to follow the thing I love, and because it's worked out, I work really hard and things have lined up, and it's not always easy. There's days it's stressful, but then, you know, I'm also grateful to have days where I can like laugh about the fact that
It is
I
stressful.
got stressed out writing a bunch of roast about a fat man with no shirt on, you know, like,
Yeah.
oh, the deadline, you know,
Yeah.
like, oh, that's what I get to be stressed about.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. But like taking, especially getting to a place where I'm like, okay, I'm surviving. I'm going to be fine. And there are moments where I go, am I going to be fine? But
Yeah.
there's
You're
always-
living your dream.
Yeah. And like that, I think opens anyone up to like have more space to like heal and like,
That's a good point. Yeah.
yeah.
And can I also ask you this? You don't have to answer this. I've just never
It
felt
always
comfortable.
becomes an interview. I've never felt comfortable asking this, but now that there's a camera
Yeah.
on and we're recording.
Well, I'm wondering, did your dad ever get to see you perform before he passed? Do you think he saw like a clip of you on something or anything?
Maybe.
It's okay. I shouldn't have asked that maybe.
No, it's okay. He
I also want everyone to know that we
Sorry.
cried to Taylor Swift last night in my bed.
I cry all the time.
Yeah.
He started following my Facebook fan page
Oh, cute.
in like 2018, I think, and I banned him from my page.
Really?
Yeah.
You needed to do that at the time?
Yeah. And then he sent me a friend request probably in like May of 2020, and I just ignored it.
These are all like random reach outs kind of thing?
Yeah, he didn't say anything, and I like talked to my therapist about it, and I was like, I don't know, he didn't send a message. He didn't even go like, hey, I know this is weird. I'm sorry. And then like the Facebook fan page thing, I kind of just felt, I was so angry at my dad that like, I was like, you don't get to just like watch my life.
Yeah.
Or I was like, oh,
this is my boundary, my digital boundary.
yeah, that I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you don't get to like be gone forever and then just like watch quietly from the corner. Loki.
Okay, that was scary.
She can tell I'm
Yeah. Yeah, she can.
that we both are.
And sorry, the reason I asked too for context is like kind of going back to like having our parents like see us perform. And like I think a big thing that I've realized this year is like letting my parents in on the thing that I love the most was really scary for me personally. And I always felt really guarded, and there were certain jokes that I wouldn't do in front of them. There were like moments where I would like find myself just being like, apologizing for the thing that I love.
Yeah.
And I think it was a huge step for me to like share that with them. So I was wondering if that translated for you as well.
You know, I think, I don't know why, but with my mom, I mean, I'm sure I could think about it and figure out why, but like, I didn't give any fucks. I was like, if you don't like what I'm doing, you don't have to like it, but like, I'm gonna talk about whatever I'm gonna talk about, and I'm gonna make jokes about things. And like,
do you think you joke about your mom more than your dad?
I think I did. Initially, and I think that's because I hadn't processed trauma about my dad, and like didn't really know what to say about my dad. I just knew that I was fucking pissed and sad. But then it's kind of weird, like even among being all the like pissed off and sad, like I like didn't want my dad to follow me because I was like, fuck you, but also it's like, well, then I'm gonna think about like, well, if I shouldn't post this joke about my dad, because he might see it, and then it's like, for why am I gonna worry about a guy who
It's funny how we can be so angry yet so sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's also, I didn't realize this till my dad passed away, how much anger can like sadness can mask itself as anger. Because anger is, there's a level, like it's to me almost, and maybe this is woo woo or corny, it's almost like alchemy, and I truly think it's what a lot of and I, as much as I think, and I always stand by this, I don't mean this as a blanket statement, I think there are exceptions. I think women across the board are much more emotionally evolved than men, but I do think men the part of the reason men are so angry is because it's not socially okay for them to be sad. And I think there's a thing that you can do with your brain and your emotions when you're very sad, is you can change it to anger. And a thing I had to like realize, because once my dad passed away, I had all these like things like flood in, and like these feelings and these memories, and that like it's so much easier to be like, and I don't know if it's like our egos or what, but to be like, dude, fuck that guy, than to be like, man, that guy like really hurt me,
and I loved him. And you don't have the same masking with like happiness. You know, like happiness is such a powerful, visceral thing where it's like, maybe if you get nervous, it's excitement, right?
Yeah.
But happiness is so standalone, but anger and sadness are not.
There's like a blending.
There's a blending.
Like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, I think it's really funny when people go like, you're not mad at me, you're mad at your dad. Like, I think that's funny. Like, but I think it's true. I think that there's men walking around like, oh, fuck you and fuck this and fuck, oh, the government, society. And it's like, yeah, like, you just need a hug, dude.
Well, the thing too is like, I think,
and that's not to say that there isn't justified, real, just pure anger. That's a real emotion.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think that like
it there's layers that comes with, right?
I don't know how we got onto this.
Well, sadness too can also be like joy. Like, have you ever been like really happy about something but like sad too? You know, like that's a bizarre thing. Like I like going back to Bosnia, like I feel that all the time. Like I'm so happy I went, but I'm so sad, and I feel this weird nostalgia for a place that I never even lived, you know?
Yeah, I have that with like memories.
Right. And it's like with the anger side of things, it's like it just heightens every other emotion, right?
Yeah.
And so and then it also heightens the anger, of course, right? But then it prohibits you from processing the other ones because you're just like, well, I just need to be angry now.
Yeah, you're just living in that. And that's what I think about when I meet people who are chronically angry. Yeah. I'm like, oh man, you're hurting. But I also sometimes think that about people who are like wildly happy. I'm like, you are hiding.
Well,
you are living a lie.
I have a weird relationship with anger, because there was a point in my life, probably a good 2-3 years, where I was like, I hate how angry I am all the time. Like, something would happen and I would literally feel full body rush heat. Like I would have to like take my clothes off. I'd get so heated about something and
you get,
angry.
like, so mad that
You
you'd be
know
like,
me. You know I'm not.
I've never seen you Hulk
You've never
out.
seen me. Yeah. Like, I mean, it is not in my nature, but there was a good like 3 years of my life where I literally thought I was having like manic episodes and like having anger. I was gonna like I was considering like anger management. Like I
'Cause
didn't
you would just
luckily
freak out.
Oh yeah, road rage was out of control. Out of control.
Really?
You know me.
Fuck.
You know me. You know that that's not who I am. But
I mean, I do have moments where I'm like, I
Yeah.
bet she secretly freaks out. I bet she shuts her door and goes, that
I'm a bitch.
fucking can't
Um,
stand my goddamn roommate and her
but
fucking dog.
one of the things I thought about a lot was like my dad, for example, everything he's gone through, not an angry bone in his body. I've maybe seen this man raise his voice 3 times in my entire life. He's just so like, that's just how life is. And I'm not saying that's good either, right? Like I think
No.
I wish he could be angrier sometimes, but there's so much gratitude that's when anger stopped for me, was
Yeah.
the gratitude of knowing like even if this thing hurt me, like I hate that I had to learn this lesson this way or something,
But I'm grateful that I,
but I'm grateful that I'm processing this,
yeah, or
and
that I've come
I'm
out
able
with
to
this.
not be so affected by it.
Yeah.
You know?
And it like, there are things that like give you a different level of empathy for you know,
Yeah.
other people in similar situations. Or like, I was actually, I think the opposite until I got older, was like, I didn't think I didn't think of myself as an angry person. I thought I would just like anything that would normally piss someone off, I would immediately go to sad. And then I think eventually my body
No
could not handle it
way.
anymore. And it was just like,
You would become sad?
yeah, I would just like,
Oh,
I would just immediately
wow.
start crying.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I'm just a crybaby, but
I
like,
would cry a lot too.
but like, I didn't start feeling like what I thought was anger until I got, actually till my like rheumatoid arthritis started like flaring up.
When
which
did
is-
that happen for you? Like what age were you at?
I think there were like little signs of it, honestly,
Mhm.
in starting as early as high school, but
Whoa.
27 is when it was like, I was
Okay.
like, I need to see a doctor.
Whoa.
But
okay.
but that would be like, it was just like physical pain that was so
Mhm.
bad that
Mhm.
like it makes you crazy.
yeah.
Chronic pain makes people crazy.
This is what I'm saying. Like my mom, I give her so much grace because she has like a difficult job that is physically demanding, and she has so many shoulder issues that I'm just like, if she's ever having a bad day, it's not an excuse, right? Like if she's like becomes angry about something completely unrelated.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it is hell. It is torture for people who live with chronic pain. I really, really can't imagine it.
Yeah. And I
It's-
hope you never, I mean, like,
Yeah, thank God, right? Like,
yeah, my dad
it's-
had like a bad
yeah.
back forever. And I just was
Yeah.
like, that was just, dad's got a bad back. And
Yeah.
I had no concept of it. And now I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, fucking, I'd probably do meth too if I
Do
had a
you?
bad back from 30 on.
I do this thing now. I don't know if you do this too, but like I think a lot about, as I get older, I think about my life in the context of where my parents were at when they were my age.
Oh, I was 33 when my dad
Yeah.
died at 66,
Oh my God.
which made me realize when I was half his age,
Uh-huh.
and also when I was being born,
He was.
my dad
yeah.
didn't know his life was halfway over.
Isn't that crazy to think
Yeah,
about?
but I also think about like my mom had 2 kids by now,
Oh, I know. Yeah. You're like, Mom.
a kindergartner, and
Yeah.
then like the most ADHD fucking second grader on who ever lived, my brother.
Oh my God.
How?
Yeah, I know. My mom was, I always used to like, there's home video of me being like 33 and married. And I just thought that everyone would get married by 30, have 3 kids. Like,
Yeah,
what
I
a
thought
time.
I'd be married like,
The 90s were crazy. Oh my God, Moki, no.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's just how it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry to derail us. I was
No,
just
we really
curious
went on a-
about that.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
once again, I've cried.
I'm glad we're recording video footage of
Full evidence. Yeah. Any do you ever think you'll have like a full conversation with your parents about their experience, or like ask them about it?
I've tried a few times in different ways. They have been like, my mom is really forthcoming about stuff. Like she has sat down a few times or even told other people, and I've been in the room while she's like told her full story and stuff. I have always wanted to either record a podcast or do a documentary with them. My issue with it is that I want to tread lightly because I think that you creep into this territory of re-traumatizing people.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about things.
And it's easy for people who didn't go through that to be like, your story's so important. You need to share your story, you know, without actually having gone through it.
Oh, yeah. Well, they say that, like,
Mhm.
when you retell a story, your body
It goes back
experience
into
is the same as if it's happening.
And like, I just know that it is, you would have to be in such a healthy mental space to do that. And like, even to this day, it's like my mom won't go out at night in my dad's neighborhood. Like, it's very difficult for her. Like, she'll have panic attacks. Like, she doesn't know that that's what they are, but I've seen them happen. And like, my dad, it's very interesting, his relationship with talking about things, because I write a lot about my parents, and I do this like immigrant kid thing where I'll write it and then I'll just kind of send it or post it and then let them find out about it. And I've written a few things, and every time he's been quite emotional and been like thank you so much for writing that. And
So like
it connects
he's glad
for
that
him.
you share it.
Yes,
It's not
I think
like-
he just doesn't have the words to do it. Like, I just don't think that bone is in him.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to have him help me write like a thank you letter, because it's going to be 30 years since they immigrated to the States this month.
Wow.
And I was like, Dad, we should really do this. Like, this is important. Like, I want you to like think about all the people that helped you. And he's like, well, most of them have passed on or this. And I was like, but Dad, like, do it for yourself, or like, you know, like,
yeah,
I
it's
think
like the catharsis of
it's our emotional human thing to share our stories. I
Yeah.
do deeply believe that. But the role I've taken on is, I feel like a little bit of like a historian for my family.
Yeah.
Of like, I can speak to what it was like to watch my parents be immigrants, right?
Yeah.
I won't ever know every single thing that happened to them, but I can relate to them from this perspective.
Yes.
And like, the biggest kind of thing for me was, I had always heard that there was footage somewhere of my parents when they first came to the States. A lot of the press was not allowed, like in the airport, like video photography. There were some photojournalists allowed, but they were like for the privacy of the refugees, they weren't. But shortly after that, there was like a welcome picnic someone had organized. It was all bullshit.
For
But
press.
literally, yes. She collected the money and then didn't give it to them.
What a fucking cunt.
That we can do a whole episode too about this woman who is still alive, and I know her address in Arizona. And I think,
Do you know her name?
yes, and I always think about knocking on her door and just fucking letting her have it. But the things that she did to my parents are unspeakable. But in any case, she organized this picnic, right? And she's in the video, I'll show you, but I had never seen video, or really only one picture of my mom from before I was born.
Wow.
And I had always heard about it, and I like kind of slowly asked my parents questions about like maybe who was the journalist, or which camera crew, or which news station, you know, just like every maybe couple months ask one question, because you have to do things slowly.
You don't want to overwhelm anyone.
And a lovely man at iPhone storage full.
Damn it.
Oh my God, how long have we been talking? Holy shit.
Well, and
amazing.
this part is audio only.
Yeah. But so, I mean, this is the last thing I'll share, but basically this man helped me find the footage and the archive from before they started even keeping digital records of the archive. So he sifted through old physical archives to help me find this footage, and he found it and he sent it to me.
And you have it?
And I surprised my parents with it. And it was so emotional because they had never seen it either, I realized. So I realized as I was showing them, it was my first time seeing it, but it was also their first time. And they were my age. And
whoa,
I'm looking at them in this and they're so young. They're so like rail thin young. Like, you know what I mean? Just like crazy to see. And I could tell my mom was like holding back tears, and then my dad like excused himself and like went into the garage, which we all know means he went to cry.
Yeah, the man cave. It's where men just cry.
Oh, this is not. I fully like pan to camera.
Yeah.
And after that, he was like, "I'm just so happy that we got to see that." you know, and it's like, I think things like
He's
that.
like, I was on TV.
Yeah.
I get why you do
Hollywood's
what you do.
call it, you know. But I think he realized like there is such a big reason why I push for some of these things, and it's not so much to even share their story with someone, which I still do think is important, but it's really the healing part for them.
Yeah.
So if they ever feel like they're in a place where they can do that with me, I would love to do that, but I'm
You're
not gonna
force someone
it.
to relive
Yeah.
their trauma.
Yeah.
You're a good person.
I hope so. It's a delicate line to walk, though, because I'm curious, right? Like, I want to know things about my parents, too, you know?
Yeah.
Some kids have, like, fun college stories about their parents. I have, like, what happened in the camp?
What happened at camp?
Yeah.
Oh, your
Yeah.
parents met at summer camp?
Yeah.
Well, funny story.
You know? Yeah.
Were you ever was there a point where you were ever told to, like, I guess you're out of Bosnia, you're not,
Mhm.
but like not talk about being Muslim or not talk about being Bosnian?
Yeah, my mom actually, when 9/11 happened, she was like, well, we got basically killed for being Muslim. So, like, when you guys are in school, you don't tell anyone that you're Muslim.
And you're like,
'Cause
"Little-
she was
little
like-
late."
Well, she was thinking, like,
yeah.
so
of course.
many of my friends actually did not know I was Muslim until like my mid-20s. Like, I
Really?
just never really,
Brought it up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And not in like a, oh, I'm high. Like, if someone asked me, I would tell them.
But you weren't going to like advertise it either.
Yeah, I'm not going to offer it. People just assume you're Christian.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Especially if you're like
Mhm.
white.
Yeah, I'm so white presenting. Like, you know, I don't have an
Presenting, yeah.
accent. My name, if you don't see it written down, you don't have any questions.
You're like,
you
oh, like
know?
grande?
Yes, literally. So yeah, I just, but in terms of being Bosnian, like, it never really came up, and I didn't go to school with, I maybe went to school with like maybe 2 or 3 other Bosnians. I never really.
What about Serbians? Is that weird now, even as like the child of someone and meeting like the child of a Serbian who lives here?
Sometimes, because sometimes you meet their parents and you're like, oh, you don't like me. You don't fundamentally like me.
Damn.
Yeah, but most of the kids my generation are actually pretty chill. Like,
Yeah.
there are a few that are kind of militant and they're gonna, like, you know, believe what their parents believe, but like,
Which is so lame.
yeah. And I think actually the people who are the worst are actually the people that live in diaspora, or I get like diaspora, where I don't know how to pronounce it in English, but
Yeah.
they like, they are the ones that have gotten more extreme after the war, right? With like ethnic ties and stuff, because they don't live there. And so their lives and their minds are stuck in still that war zone of like, well, there's a divide, right?
Yeah.
All the kids who like still live in Bosnia, they're not like, you know, wearing the flag proud and like, you know, fighting and like, you know what I mean? Like, there
Yeah.
is still some of that, but they're just like living normal, like life went on. You know, they all still live with each other. All these ethnicities still live with each other. But the people, because we're so far away from like the homeland,
People
we feel
this-
more extreme, right? You get pulled towards extremes,
Yeah.
right? So it's
like
understandable.
you have to make a statement. To be like,
Yeah.
I'm also this.
Well, my cousins are always joke to me. They're like, "You're more Bosnian than we are," you know.
so
and then
funny.
the Bosnians here in America always tell me I'm not Bosnian enough. So it's like, who's right?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
you can't win.
Yeah, I can't. No, you literally can't. Yeah.
If there's one thing we've learned from this conversation,
Everyone's a loser.
we all lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Oh my God. Thank you.
I'm trying to think of if there's anything else.
I feel like you opened up my heart chakra.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah.
So Bosnia is like right next to Croatia.
Yeah, so Croatia hugs it. So
Okay.
Croatia got practically the entire coast.
Yeah,
except
Croatia's
for-
got a good little setup.
I know. They really kind of
I've been to
phoned one
Dubrovnik.
in. You know what I mean? Have you really?
Yeah,
When did you go? Was it when you went on tour?
I went on a family cruise
Oh.
with my
Did you like it?
grandma.
I've never been, actually.
It's really cool,
yeah,
and it felt safe. A walled city.
I know.
I was like, wow, we're really hiding out in Dubrovnik.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on here? People
Like
aren't-
Game of Thrones?
yeah, literally. Like what I
Mhm.
remember seeing that. and
Yeah.
being like, I know that place.
That's so funny.
yeah.
So where you were, if you just went across like that little bridge they have now there, like 30 minutes even, that's where Mostar is. So that's Herzegovina. So that's like southern Bosnia. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you were close. You were
where
there.
the Bosnian rednecks are. That
they're
probably sounds
gonna
more
come
offensive.
for me.
I'm so sorry.
No, and you know what though? I love it because they can be annoying. So
take that. Everyone
Take
can be
that,
annoying
yeah.
sometimes. And Bosnian, the language that you speak to your parents, is Bosnian?
So this is another very controversial question. So everyone says Bosnian, right? But people officially will call the language like Serbo-Croatian, and other people like Serbians will tell you that Bosnian isn't real, even though there's like literally an alphabet called Bosančica. Like I can't even get it.
Like they act like it doesn't exist?
Yeah, because after the war, so my mom, for example, the town that she was from, it was called Bosanski Novi, which means New Bosnia, basically.
Bosanski Novi.
Bosanski Novi, yes. And they changed the name after the war to be Novi Grad, which means new city, because they were trying to erase Bosnia basically from the language and from like any traces of it. So
Fuck off.
when people tell me that Bosnian isn't a real language, I'm like, you're wrong. Like if you officially take a class, they call it Bosnian, Croatian, Serbian, BCS. But I'm
Does
like,
everyone speak the same language over there?
okay, so similarly, yes, it's like we can all understand each other. Serbians have Cyrillic though; they have their own alphabet, and then there's certain words that like are different, but you can still figure out what someone's saying. Yeah.
So you just have like
Yeah.
a piece of paper in your pocket that is written in Bosnian that goes like, okay, well if Bosnian's not a language,
Yeah.
why don't you tell me what this says?
I'm like, then why do all of our signs, when you buy a pack
Just
of
says go fuck
cigarettes,
yourself.
when you buy a pack of cigarettes over there, they have all 3 languages on it. So riddle me that. And 2 of them are spelled the exact same, Croatian and Bosnian, and then there's Serbian Cyrillic. So I'm like,
who has the made up language?
right, yeah.
But wait, so Bosnian and Serbian, I mean not Bosnian,
Yeah.
and Croatian
Or
the
it's spelled the
same?
same. Yeah, basically. Pretty much.
Okay, it's like
Yeah.
almost like a regional.
And then there's regionalisms
almost.
and then spelling regionalism. So like,
Okay.
certain words will be pronounced the same way but spelled differently. Things like that. So
Do you feel a responsibility to keep the language alive?
I do actually. I'm like really.
Why haven't you had children? I'm just
I
kidding.
know.
I'm
Well,
kidding.
I mean,
I'm kidding.
I feel responsibility in the way where it's like, I think you can leave a legacy without children and stuff. I think what's really
Yeah.
important to me is keeping the culture alive, and part of the way you can do that is through language. Like I'm really grateful I can talk to my grandma. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
that's huge to me. And also like I think when you understand a language, you understand the culture more. You know?
Oh yeah.
So
There's just so much nuance in
yeah.
a language that really
Mhm.
like you can't.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this was wonderful.
It was.
I
Thank
learned
you.
a lot.
I learned a
I
lot.
hope I didn't embarrass
I
myself
had
too much.
I had a few epiphanies as well. So
We did
yeah.
it.
We cried. We laughed.
Yeah.
Moki, I almost
I
had
said
to
some
save
things
her
that are
life.
probably going to get my head chopped off. We're doing okay over here.
You know, Herzegovina is coming for our asses.
It was a very
you know?
beautiful man from Herzegovina.
Yeah.
He was very strong. So strong.
They are. Hey, you
It was
know,
very, yeah, we love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
they are beautiful. They're very tall. Usually tall, dark, kind of handsome type.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
a nice looking fella.
Yeah.
That's in the past,
You
many,
know?
many years ago.
You know?
In 1993. No.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
At Arijana Ramic on all socials. ARIJANA RAMIC. Ramic.
yeah.
I'll say it
And she's
right.
got a great podcast called Burning the Light.
Yes.
And she's an incredible comedian and human. So
And roommate.
and she's not a bad roommate either. No, she's probably the best roommate. I'm not even gonna say
Aw.
that. The other roommates might be listening.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
They never want to hear my voice again. And that's because they're hard to
Yeah.
deal with, not me.
They're Serbian. so,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm on the run.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see you next time. Go follow her, and bye, idiots.
Woo.
When these pictures of Muslim prisoners in a Serbian detention camp were first broadcast last year, it sparked an international call to end the atrocities in the former Yugoslavia. The prisoners appear to have been beaten, starving, afraid. Velid Ramic spent 5 months in that detention camp. He survived, barely. Tonight, he and his family were the guests of honor at a local fundraising dinner for the Bosnian Relief Fund. The Ramices flew into Seattle Wednesday night.
Ovdje mi se super sviđa.
It's a great place to come to. I'm glad I finally made it here.
Ramic says all the stories of the atrocities in his homeland are true. He compares those camps to the concentration camps in Nazi Germany. Ramic saw his father nearly beaten to death, his friends tortured and killed.
Neki su ljudi umrli
A soldier came out to me and actually pointed out to two people sitting right next to me, and they had taken them outside and they started to beat them with bats. Basically, they never came back, and later on we had found out that they were shot.
Ramic was separated from his wife and two small children who were in another camp.
Htio sam samo da mi je živ u glavi.
I was just hoping that they were alive and well.
5 months later, they were finally released and reunited.
Jel bi plakao?
I don't know if I should cry for happiness or cry for sadness. That there's no words that can tell the feeling that he has right now.
A total of 5 Bosnian families will resettle in the Seattle area this summer. The next refugees expected to arrive are Betty Tarulya's sister and her 2 sons.
I'm gonna just probably cry first, and then we'll talk about it later, because I just want her to be secure and feel wanted and comfortable.
And safe. This is only the 4th day in America for this Bosnian family. 4 days of freedom and joy after months of agony. John Sharifi, Como News 4.
When a lot of the Bosnians who had